have that going because I thought I was going to hook up Instagram, but I couldn't figure out how to hook up Instagram in time, so we don't have an Instagram today. So I welcome everybody who's joining us, and it looks like, are we late, or is everybody just getting here early? But we do have some comments out there. Mike White is out there already. Since we are in different time zone, I'll just say good day. No, we're in the same time zone. And then Woods is out there. Welcome. Arizona doesn't change times. Yeah, Arizona doesn't change times. So right now we're in Pacific, but so that means it's 12 o'clock here, but it's 3 o'clock where Tony's at in New Jersey. Tony's joining us. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Always. So we were chatting a little bit off air. It's always weird when we do that because then where do we step in? Because it's kind of like you're talking to somebody and then you start over. So I guess let's just start with how's the diversity shoots been going?
Oh, man, we're packed. Diversity shoots are kicking butt. Um, right now, we got Union Hill Gun Club, which is coming this Thursday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I have already stuff that we're going to raffle off there. I just spoke to Aberdeen Guns and Ammo, which is a gun shop in Aberdeen, New Jersey. They're coming and they're bringing some cool stuff. Because Jersey, you got to love this. We can't have short barrel rifles in this state, and we can't have AR pistols, but we can have AOWs and non NFA firearms. So we're going to have some of those at the diversity shoot. So it's going to be fun. Uh, so you can see what you can legally have in New Jersey, which makes no sense whatsoever. I can't have a short barrel rifle with a $200 tax stamp, but I can have an AOW with a $5 tax stamp. That you can't tell me the difference. Um, but yep, we're gonna have that. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Um, and I look forward to meeting and seeing new people. I wonder who's going to be coming from Rutgers University because we did have them. Rutgers University, I think, Gun Violence Research Center actually sent the head of the research center to. She came on her own to the last diversity shoot at Gun for Higher Range. And we just let them, we didn't change anything. We didn't change how we ran the shoot. I didn't change my sense of humor to be politically correct. It is what it is. And we introduced them to real people that are firearms owners from every background, just like we all know we are. But people that talk about it, study it, got to actually meet us and talk to us. And did it make a difference? I hope it did. But all I can do is my part. I can't make people believe anything outside of themselves. And hopefully it took off. I was actually talking to Dr. David Yamati from Wake Forest. Yeah, Wake Forest, right? Yeah. Sociologist and author of Gun Culture 2.0. And I told him the story, and he was like, yeah, he was like, as a left leaning liberal, whatever professor that's also a gun owner, I 100% agree with you. I mean, you can only show them stuff. You can't make them believe things. And I think that's what a lot of gun people think I do at diversity shoots. Like you come in, you come in with purple hair, vagina hat wearing, screaming and hating MAGA, and you leave there, equipped like John Wick, would make America great again hat on.
With a MAGA hat, yeah.
Nah. Yeah, yeah. That's not what I want. And that's not what we should want as firearms owners. What I need is people that are Democrats, people that are independents, people that are Republicans to hold their party accountable and make them understand that the Second Amendment is the human right of self defense. It should be apolitical. And that's it. I don't need you to change any position whatsoever. Just understand you're being manipulated and lied to so they can take away a civil right. And that's why I host diversity issues, just to educate people and try to get you on the same page. Get you on the same page, understanding that, the government's never changed since the very beginning. The guys that founded it said, hey, don't trust the government. You should be able to say what you want, and you should be strapped when you do so. And don't trust these guys. Oh, yeah. And one of the other things that people often ignore for the security of a free nation. That's why we need the Second Amendment, not to protect you from getting your, catalytic converter stolen in your front yard. It helps with that, but it really is for the security of a free nation and also for your safety and security as an individual. But they're going great. We're having them every 2 weeks. I had a change of plans. I decided I wasn't going to go to train and learn this year. I'm going to take that time to actually start and help pay for, uh, or at least ask donations to help pay for and use some of the money I would have used for training and learn to establish myself as a 501c3. Finally had one of my friends contact me, and I said I was motivated to do it, but she doubled down on explaining to me why I should do it, and that there are a lot of people that look to me to actually start this thing because they feel it could be a lot bigger than just in New Jersey if I had the funding. And a lot of things came together to make you go, yeah, you know what? She's 100% right. Like if I had $100,000 in donations, because again, I have 10 years of work behind this. This isn't me just coming up with something, right? And I just pulled that number out because of a conversation I had with somebody at another company. But it's like it would change everything. It would free me up. There would be no nightmares. I already talked to the people at work about taking a leave of absence if I needed to help establish this thing. I'm like, holy crap! To get it up, get it going, and be able to not only have diversity shoots in New Jersey, but hook up with people in Pennsylvania, Delaware, because I've already had these conversations. Heck, you know some of the people, Maryland, and the Midwest tour, 100%. I can do that, like with not a crap ton of work. It's just meeting the right people and getting involved. So the divorce issues are going well. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to grow, and that's what I'll be doing all summer. So if anybody wants to help, please do. I got some other things I'm working with, and also I'm setting up the Diversity Shoot podcast, the 2A4E podcast. I got editing to do, a lot of editing to do, and scheduling. So my next purchase is going to be a whiteboard, a whiteboard, so I can put up when I'm releasing what part of the podcast, the recordings that I made while I was in NRA. We
Help
got
like track
questions
it
coming
and
in on.
schedule it.
What was that?
Help like track it and schedule it.
Yeah, track it and schedule it because I have a significant amount of content. And it's like, okay, how do you release it in a cogent manner? Because no one wants to get hit with a flood of, hey, Tony just released 718 podcasts. It's like, no, no. A long format and a short one, a long one and a short one, a long one and a short one, probably in the same week. Like do two, because I think I have it set up that I can do two a week for the next 6 weeks. And that's going to be the start. What you call it, episode 100 of the 2A4E podcast is going to be about NRA and then just launch into those. That's the plan. And I was actually talking to someone about releasing it to the people on Patreon first because I do have a Patreon. So they'll be the first ones to get it. And then it goes out to everyone else. So what are the questions coming in now?
Oh shit, I'm sitting here on mute. Um, all right. Well, so we do have some questions over from the website. I put the website up here for a little while. I keep forgetting to say that because most of the time we just end up bullshitting. But there is the AskUnQuestions.com website, and we do get people that ask questions over there. Thanks for that. Woods asked a bunch of them. Thanks for that. So what's the first one here? It's kind of a general one. What's your favorite handgun round?
That's
It's
complicated.
on a surface. It's easy. It's a simple question, but yeah, exactly. That's a great way to say it. It's complicated. There's a lot to that, really.
Yeah. What do I have a great time with? I'll go ahead and tell you. I mean, I shot last night. I love shooting 22. I love shooting a 22 on the pistol because it's easier for me to concentrate on all the other aspects of shooting the pistol and not think about recoil mitigation. So I can put rounds where I want. Except last night, I stunk up the place, and John Moses Browning came from the dead, took my gun, and threw it out the car window, and told me I'm not allowed to have guns anymore. That's how bad I shot last night doing the police combat competition. But I like shooting 22. It's enjoyable. It's very little recoil. And I'm just talking about me. I'm not going to talk about training people or anything else. I'm just talking about me. The other thing I like is handgun rounds, 357. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, 357. I like shooting that. I like shooting 38 out of a 357 mostly. Again, because I just like shooting small groups and having fun. And then if I know I need to defend myself, I can jack that sucker up to 357 magnums and they'll work. And I don't have to worry about it being banned. But the other thing I like is 40 Smith and Wesson, only because people keep saying it's dead, and it's not. And every time there's a ban or a run on ammo, and there's still 40 on the shelves, and people that own 40 can actually pick it up without paying a gang of money for it, it proves it right again and again and again. So, yeah. And I like 40 only because I like, ticking off the internet and going, hey, your 10 millimeter is barely, some of your 10 millimeters not even as powerful as 40 Smith and Wesson, and you're paying 10 millimeter prices for ammo that's the same as something cheaper. So yeah, that I tell you, it's complicated. And then I just use 9 mostly because it's cheaper and I can shoot it a lot. Um, yeah, there you go.
So for me, I don't know. It's like you say, there's different aspects to it. So, what's my favorite handgun round? Is a defensive round, 357. Is a hunting round, might be 357 or probably 44, depending on what you're hunting, of course, always, right? If you're hunting jackrabbits, that's not going to be the case.
Mm,
Um,
yep.
and then just going to the range and shooting. I probably wouldn't shoot 357 or 44, although when I was reloading, 44 was such a fun round, like to play with the variables there. You put a different projectile in, you play with the powder, and there's just there's literally the grouping can be infected by the components. So there was a lot of fun with 44. I don't know if it was because it's so big or there was I think
Hmm.
there's just a lot of room in the cartridge, and it's a big cartridge, so it's not tedious to reload. Definitely
Yep.
not 9. I mean, I always use 9 as my, whatever you want to call it, like my
Whipping
deceit.
boy.
Well, to make fun of the people that argue about stupid shit that's inconsequential, really. Like, oh, I like the blue
Hmm.
color, I like the red color. Like, it's just a stupid thing. So I always could, and because we could be uniting on important things, changing the opinion on guns in the world, and just getting past all this bickering. But anyway, I still don't like 9 millimeter. Personally, it's just too small of a round, and um, I don't. Most 9 millimeters are defensive or whatever. What's the word, like a working gun, where, like you say, the more fun guns to shoot, or the more interesting guns to shoot at least, are going to be in the calibers that make more sense. And almost nothing, 9 millimeter doesn't make much sense for any kind of long range or high power. It's sort of the best of all worlds, so that means it's the master of none type of thing. So when you get off
Hmm.
into those aspects, you're going to find different um, things that do master those realms. So that being said, I mean, I could probably pick out. I think it'd be honestly easier for me to pick out things I don't like to shoot with a handgun, or handgun calibers I don't like, than the ones because I like so many of them. I think. Um, but when you say 22, like you're talking
Hmm.
22. When I shoot 22, I'm usually shooting my little tiny revolvers, and that's just a
Hmm.
whole other thing because it's super tedious. You got to take the whole cylinder out and reload them, and if somebody else is shooting next to me, they're going to be shooting a box or two of ammo by the time I shoot half a box of ammo. And that throttling or whatever is part of the fun of those little revolvers. You still get to do a lot of stuff. You're out there, you're at the range, you're having a good time, you're chatting with people. They're plowing through ammo to try to make their groups a little smaller. And, I'm still just sitting out there playing with my Matchbox cars essentially. So that's a lot of fun if I'm just out there. Like when I was out there working or volunteering at the range, I'd bring those out because they didn't cost me nothing to shoot. Even if I brought a regular 22 out there and shot a couple of boxes, it wouldn't be expensive. But again, shooting half a box of ammo, it's not even a cost. And I was out there, every week though. Now, if I wasn't going out every week, I probably wouldn't bring something that's just time, a time suck or whatever, like a time waster. Um, But then I really like my 22 rifles. I have little 22, the little crickets and things that are just fun to shoot, little tiny rifles. Or I think it's fun to shoot little tiny rifles. And again, it's not fast or anything. But I guess that's a rifle, not a handgun caliber. So yeah, it's a tough one for me. I'm going to probably say 44 if I just had to pick one, but then followed up really quick with 357. But if anybody's out there, there is a lot of people out listening today. You're allowed to type in there your favorite caliber as well, and then maybe even why. Let's see. So I didn't realize that we had a bunch of comments coming in. This new system that I'm using doesn't give me like any kind of heads up that there's a new comment, and it doesn't auto scroll. So I just realized that I hadn't scrolled down to see all the new comments. But I don't think anybody has mentioned their favorite caliber yet. Wood said 357. I think we're on the same page with that one. I think it's just a good overall caliber. But that was handgun round, and maybe a more specific question would be like an auto pistol or a revolver round or something, because then at least that eliminates half the calibers for us. Another question that came in was, how much better is 357 Magnum than 38 Special Plus or Plus Plus? Is it Plus B Plus? Better
uh,
defined as we see it. So how much better is 357 than 38 Special?
yeah, okay. All right, I don't want to be this dude, but I'm going to be this dude. Better at what? Um, it's more powerful if you want to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, that extra eighth of an inch actually means something. Also, because that's how much the case for 357 is the length in 38 special. Um, so it's significantly more power to be had in it. Um, that's the way I see. If that's what you're going for is better, cool. But you use the same round in them. It's just what they do. I mean, a 125, 350, hot 125, 125 grain 357 Magnum round pretty much is known as a man stopper, because according to the statistics back in the day, what was it, Sandow, and I forgot the name of the two, Marshall and Sandow or something like that. It had like a 98% one shot stop rate. But prior to that, 158 grain 38 special was what they used. And then you also have to throw in the fact that, cartridge technology changed, and the bullet technology changed. So, I mean, it's significantly better on almost every way when it comes to as a self defense, even hunting round. But as far as use, they both still have their uses. That's why they're still around.
Um, I was thumbing through a bunch of these, so I might have missed. So if I repeat, but I was going to say 357 is a little stronger. Like you say, that eighth of an inch or whatever it is I guess just
Hmm.
enough to have that much more powder in there. The 357 bullet is bigger than a 350 than a 38. Also, I'm assuming.
Mm-mm.
Uh, I'm sure you can put
Nope.
interchange, but I guess in general, a 357 is like throwing more stuff downrange too. So I think for
Hmm.
your defense use, your hunting use, and that kind of thing, your 357 has more oomph. Like there was a reason they made it, because 38 wasn't cutting it, I guess.
Yep.
But that doesn't come for free. You have to make a stronger gun, a little bit bigger gun sometimes, or at least to be a gun that's going to last a while. It's to their advantage to do that, make it a bigger, stronger gun, which just means it's a little bit heavier. So I think that's the weight. Where you go to 38s, you see your titaniums and your ultralight 38s out there. With the Plus P or the Plus P Plus, which are basically just hot 38s in the same cartridge, like you're saying, without the length increased. And I don't know, I guess just part powder or something. They figured out how to make that happen. The thing is, you have to then get a pistol or a revolver, I should say, that is made for Plus or Plus P Plus. So you
Hmm.
can't just take Plus P Plus because it's a 38 and it'll fit into an old, whatever, 1950 38 special. At least I wouldn't do that very often because it's not rated for it. That's where I think 357 is, I guess, a little easier to deal with than dealing with the 38, the subtle-ish differences of the 38 and the different pluses. Um, but I guess, like I say, there's some advantage if you're really trying to be, like your speedo carry, like you have to get it as light as possible. Then I guess your 38 in some kind of skeletonized thin or metal frame that doesn't weigh much. Because I mean, there's literally revolvers that can be fully loaded and held up by a helium balloon or two, so they're very light. But I don't know how much better. I would say literally one rung up on a ladder or like one step up on the staircase. I mean, I think they're very comparable. But I'm no cartridge. I don't spend my life studying cartridges or revolvers or the subtleties between them. In the grand scheme of things, I'd say they're basically on the bookshelf next to each other. I don't think there's anything in between them,
What's
like a
that?
38 plus P and a 357. Like I don't think there's any cartridge that anybody would fit in between there, like a 41 or a, I don't know what else would fit anywhere near there, like what I mean, like a 9 millimeter. Is there a 9 millimeter plus P, something like that? Like
Yeah, they're
maybe
9 millimeter plus Ps.
there
The
might be
nine
some.
millimeter plus Ps. You might be able to get 38 super in there somewhere. But I
Yeah,
mean, the different. My whole thing is, what the hairy heck are you doing with 38 plus Ps when either you go with 38s or you go with 357s? I mean, come on, man. I don't know. See, is there that big of a difference between a regular 38 and a plus P when there's whole guns you can use that are just slightly bigger, even when you do the LCR, which is mostly plastic from Ruger, and you can get it in 357. I don't think the weight is significantly different between the 38 Special and 357. The
no. The
price
only
may be
time
different.
357s are heavier is when you get a big full size revolver. Then yeah,
Yeah,
357s are bigger if you get a six shot, of course, and if you compare that with a little J frame. But no, I have no idea why they came up with the plus P. I mean, 357 already existed, as far as I know. I have to go look, I guess, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure 357 already.
357 was 357 was invented in 1935.
And then they were like, hey, you know what? Let's mess with 38 more. Maybe it was just a, like a Sig, or what was it, a 357 Sig or Gap
Oh,
45. Just a kind of a marketing thing. Like, hey, maybe we can sell this. Let's see.
well, it might be, and this is me just pulling stuff out because I'm not there, but people didn't change and marketing didn't change. Um, Most of the police officers and agencies throughout the country carry 38 Special, and you probably couldn't expect them all to change over to 357 Magnum. But since 357 Magnums were out, and they definitely wanted more power, but you couldn't convince people to buy, New York PD has 50,000 cops. You're not going to get them to buy 50,000 357 Magnums. So you can give them a little boost with 38 Special plus P. And that gives them more power that they're looking for without buying a whole new firearm because they thought that was a very powerful gun back in the day. I mean, it was a really powerful firearm that they used to punch through doors, supposedly in gangster cars, if you're going to believe the bullcrap propaganda they feed you
That's
about
a real
violence.
good point, though.
Yeah.
That upgrading and being able to get the most use, because you can put plus P, I think, into most 38s. Like you're not going to hurt nothing.
Hmm.
Plus P plus, I think, is where they need to be rated. I might be wrong on that, so don't take that as advice. But that makes a lot of sense that you're not just going to swap out all your revolvers just because there's a new revolver or a new caliber out there, or
Yeah.
whatever. Because someone says, or maybe like you say, they decide, oh, we do need to shoot through car doors. Let's just change out all our revolvers. Or wait, we could just buy different ammo.
Exactly.
We should ask Gun Food. He has to know, right? He has to, by default, know all gun history or ammo history. I mean,
Oh, he'll fake it even if he don't know.
let's see. So there's some other questions coming in, but this is the last one that I'll pull from the website. We've got a bunch. We have a couple more from the website that we can hit like next week or something. Or yeah, you'll be around next week then. Next week
Yep.
then, and but we've got some coming in from people asking today. But this one says, should I sell my parts guns at a gun buyback to raise money for gun rights advocates? That's sort of a moral and financial question. Probably a societal question too.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that, dude. I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, I had some friends make up some bullcrap shotguns with, some stuff from Lowe's and Home Depot. And they were able to get away with it once, but then when they tried to do it in Newark, they were like, yeah, get out. Um, but I totally understand where you're coming from. Hey, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you right or wrong with that. I like the way you think. Modern problems. What was it? Modern problems demand modern solutions.
That's a good
And
put
if
it.
if yeah, and if for a few dollars worth of freaking parts, I could throw it together and make it, and you're dumb enough to give me money, yeah, 100%. I'll donate it to a Second Amendment organization. The part that annoys me, and I'll go ahead and say it, even though they're lying pieces of crap, is that they'll use your thing to talk about how successful their gun buyback was.
That's the other side of that edge, or that double edge of that one.
Yeah.
So the when I read it, I thought parts guns. Like I went to AR, like the AR that you make because you had a lower laying around, or all the
Hmm.
parts you took off your other guns to make your real guns. You took all these parts off and they're laying around, and you figured out all I need to do is get a receiver and a barrel, and I've got another gun here. So basically, not free, but like really inexpensive. So problem is, like, let's do the real math on that. You do have all these parts. Let's say that's the situation. You bought AR number one, you bought AR number two. AR number one became run around AR, AR number two became long range AR. So you bought them both as stock because that was the way you wanted to do it and buy all the parts yourself. Nobody had exactly what you wanted or whatever, or you dollar cost averaged into whatever where you bought the thing and then each paycheck you threw a couple of bucks at it. So you end up with the pistol grip and the stock and the hand guards and the thing and this and that and the other thing, some triggers and stuff. Like I say, all you needed is a receiver and a barrel. Well, what's a receiver cost? $35 if you buy a really cheap one. If can you still do
Hmm.
that? Is that still a thing? $35
Yeah.
receiver? It's not like I bought one in
Yep.
forever. And then
Every now and
barrel,
again. Yeah.
probably get a shitty junk barrel, especially if you're going to give it to a buyback, a junk barrel for let's say $50. Like I don't know, maybe you could get one cheaper if you knew somebody, if it was really shot out or something, or somebody reamed out a gas hole bad or something. But a working barrel, I don't know, $50 maybe. Maybe it's rusty or something. But now you're $80 into this thing. What's a buyback going to give you? $250 if you're lucky. So
Yep.
now, what's the rest of your stuff worth? That gun was probably worth more than the whatever I just said, 50 and whatever. So it's probably worth a couple $100 at least. So they're only really giving you like shitty trade in value for it. Like they're not giving you prime money for it. I've never seen a buyback more than $250, by the way, and they're always like some kind of gift card. They're never here's $250 in cash. So that's my one issue is that financially it's just barely a wash in the worst case scenario, because best case scenario you could change a part or two on that thing and sell it as a $300 gun or something, or just keep the fucking gun. Like what the hell? There's nothing wrong with keeping 3 ARs. But when you said turn it into a gun out of, like, let's say a piece of wood or some PVC, or not PVC, but whatever, let's say $30 worth
Hmm.
of parts at, no, it's not going to cost $30. Let's say $8 worth of parts at a Home Depot, and you make 10 of them. So it cost you $80, and you turned them all in, and whatever you got, $10 each, whatever, you made a couple of bucks. Yeah, you made a couple of bucks, and it was maybe a fun thing, or you made some clout on your YouTube channel or something doing it. So now, like you just said at the end there, the double edge of that sword is they get to chuckle and look at their pile of guns at their gun buyback, and if it is the AR, and you've decided it's worth making it, now they got a fucking AR, and they don't give a shit if it's a shitty one made out of parts. They think it's a fucking assault rifle, and they're gonna hold it up on, jump up and down with it. Let's say you made it out of part PVC, or whatever pipe, right? And or a piece of wood and some pipe. Now look at what these people are making on the streets. These are the zip guns on the streets. We're taking these
Mm-hmm.
things off the streets. We're getting these zip guns off the streets. So it's a lose lose. Plus, they're emboldened. They think they fucking did something. They're going to run around. I don't know if they get paid for these things or if it's just political clout, but whatever it is, it's not moving the Overton window our direction. So I don't see it as a win. So should I sell my parts at a gun buyback? Fuck no. To raise money for gun rights advocates? No, fucking sell your gun and give it to them or give them the fucking gun. There's like so many other things you could do to get that money to gun rights advocates through the gun without involving the antis, right? Plus, it's fucking wrong. Like a gun buyback, they didn't fucking own them in the first place, so that's part of it's wrong. When they get by them as churches and let me say civic organizations, although I don't know if there's too many of those that have done buybacks. It's usually church organizations that do it. It's usually illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not allowed to fucking take possession of these things, and they're fucking illegal as shit. There's one element to it where people go up and try to buy stuff from the people who are selling stuff to the buybacks. Um, that's like one of those like what do you say? Like there's a silver lining sometimes. I mean, it's a
Mm-hmm.
kind of neat thing, but again, I just rather not have gun buybacks. But then, yeah, the whole idea of like the idea that either the police, because sometimes it is the police that do them, or that the whatever organization that does it has the right or the I guess that they get to bend the rules to let them to even do the thing because it's not always but often done in states where it's not legal for people to own guns without all kinds of stupid shit like a permit to purchase and shit, whereas the church getting a permit to purchase a permit to collect dozens of guns on a Saturday. So the other
Mm-hmm.
last thing is the worst part about these things is if let's say you're a criminal and you've murdered people with a gun. Let's see, what do I do with this gun? Oh, I'm gonna go get $30, no questions asked. I'm gonna get paid for my freaking get have them destroy my crime gun. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
about this that makes sense with crime, like nothing, because they, in my experience, looking at them, they will take the guns at these gun buybacks, no questions asked. We don't know who you are, we don't care, and then maybe they
Mm-hmm.
run traces on them. But what's the fucking point of running a trace on something that you didn't get the nothing but maybe the fingerprints off the person? So either they're lying and they are going to fingerprint you and or take your fingerprints off that gun as soon as you hand it over and have photographed you as you're walking up there, or maybe it's grandpa takes gun out of the closet and gives it to the gun buyback, getting the guns off the streets. Little they know somebody's been using that gun for years, going into grandpa's closet and grabbing it and killing people and putting it back in grandpa's closet. And now grandpa's a murderer, and they have been, fingerprinting everybody, and now grandpa's in jail. It just makes no sense. Like it doesn't get crime off the street. It doesn't stop crime. It doesn't get guns off the streets that criminals are using. It gets guns off the streets that like people who inherited them, or maybe BB guns and things that people didn't know what to do with. But I don't see any. I mean, I guess I'm not looking, except for when I've researched gun buybacks a little bit. I didn't come across any like positive examples of gun buybacks doing anything more than collecting a bunch of guns for what's it like political clout.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm biased. There's probably something out there good that they've done, but my answer is fuck no, fuck no, fuck no. A good question. I don't think anybody's asked that one before. Because on the surface, right? Hey, I want to get money to a gun rights advocate, and these suckers will pay me for garbage, like literally junk you went and bought at Home Depot, or maybe got out of the back, the shed or something, found in an alley, just a couple of pieces of pipe that with a spring. But let's see, we did have some questions coming in. Krabby Turtle said, I took a bunch of 22 LR to the range today. Smith & Wesson Victory, Taurus TX22, and the Rossi RS22.
Nice.
What's the Smith & Wesson Victory? Is that like a full-size 22?
Yeah, it's their version of the Ruger Mark III, Mark IV series, Ruger Mark series.
Oh, okay, okay. I was thinking revolver. I like shooting 22, and if I'm going to put it all out there, at least if I'm remembering another layer to it, as much as I enjoy shooting 22 semi-autos and revolvers, I guess, The part I do not like about shooting 22s is how tedious they are to clean. Like they are one of the most annoying guns to clean. Not the worst, but some of the most annoying just because they're so small and they tend to have a lot of parts. So there's a lot of, and they're filthy, right? Like the ammo is dirty even if you don't shoot it. Just a filthy ammo because it's full of grease or something, and it's always dirty. And then so it's getting the magazines and everything all gummed up and collecting dust, dirt. I'm in the desert, so we get a lot of dust. And once you shoot them, it's a filthy. I don't know if it's smoke. It's I don't know if it's like black powder in there or something, but I mean I guess it's technically smokeless, but it's some filthy powder. And the lead is there's a lot of bullet there, so the barrels can get fouled and full of lead pretty quick. So there's and you got to what's that? Put in some anti-lead chemical once in a while if you're really worried about accuracy on them. So that's my issue with shooting 22s. When you do diversity shoots, we never talked about this. Who does the cleaning? You guys like have an opportunity for the people that attend to help clean, or do you guys just take them home and clean them?
No. No. Shoot, I don't even clean them. Like for the 22s, I have like, I think I clean them once a year. Because I have, Ruger 1022, in a high tower armory chassis that makes it look like a suppressed P90. Uh, and it's just a lot of screws. I think it's like 16, 20. I don't know. It's a crap ton of screws to take it out of the chassis and clean it. And I've only cleaned it once in the last 6 or 7 years. If it starts acting up, I take it apart and clean it. And my SR22, I cleaned it probably once a year. And again, this is thousands of rounds through it, but I use CCI uh, and Anguilla. Those pretty much are the only two I use. Oh, and Federal. So they're not really that dirty compared to using that garbage Remington stuff. So yeah, I really don't clean them a lot. As far as my other guns, my ARs, yeah, I wipe them down. But the ARs I have are they have what do you call it? I mean, it's an AR-15. I pop the bolt out, I wipe the bolt down, run a bore snake through it, and we're done. It's clean. Same with the high point. Usually with the high point, I just lube it, run the charging handle a few times, and it's good to go. And then my guys, they take their stuff home, and I don't know what their cleaning schedule is, but they rotate a lot of the stuff out. Uh, we usually we usually have different guns. Depends on who's doing it. My guy Chris, who is like the king of intros, he's the guy we send your grandmom to when she comes to the range the first time, or someone who's really timid and never shot a gun before and looks kind of nervous. We send them to Chris, and Chris has the Glock 44, and he has the Glock 9, and that kind of stuff. And
Well, I think
that's
cleaning
how.
is like reloading. Like there's people that are into reloading, and then there's people that aren't, and then there's people that can dabble in it or whatever, like halfway into it. So with
Hmm.
your cleaning, you definitely a lot of modern guns don't really need it, I guess, but
Yeah.
doesn't mean you shouldn't. I think there's the thing about cleaning is there's cleaning and then there's monitoring, right? So keeping track of the gun's operation or operational whatever condition is part of the maintenance or whatever. So it's when even if you don't wipe the whole thing down, taking it apart, looking at it, making sure it's in good shape so that you don't need to is still a part of it. But there's people that just like to clean. They like to go in there and fiddle with it, and if they're monitoring the parts or whatever. Maybe they're really into the triggers or really into some kind of aftermarket hammer or something, and they're monitoring that wear or something like that. So they're going to take it apart because of the operation of the thing. But other people just like to fiddle with them. I mean, part of the cool part about guns is the way that the machines, let's see, the way that the companies or the manufacturers or the inventors or whoever you want to say, like accomplish the task of doing the simple thing of making a bullet go off, and sometimes make a bullet go off and make another one go into the chamber. Like the myriad of ways that that's accomplished is
Hmm.
fascinating, right? And some people's whole thing about guns is just that. Like they just buy guns based on the way they operate and that kind of thing. So those kind of folks, people with that angle of liking guns, they're going to probably appreciate cleaning whether or not the gun's even been shot, right? Like they're going to just take their guns apart and fiddle with them. I know I just because I was like this when I was a kid, I didn't get to shoot all the time, so I would go down there and just take the guns apart, fiddle with them, just because I enjoyed, just the I don't know what to call it, like the mechanism or the complexity of the machine. And then again, they're all tackling the same simple task, right? But the way that they do it is so different, and they all do it in a kind of the same way. But once you get down and start looking at it, the way that the guts work, they're all really different. So anyway, I think that there's that aspect of cleaning. Going over to Patriot because he was talking about what we were just talking about with the buybacks. He's saying, don't the buybacks normally have like one or two cops there, so it looks like they're representing a department or something? I'm not going to say I've seen every buyback. They don't happen that often, and for a while there, I was paying attention to them way more often, and not always. I mean, yes, sometimes there's police there, but I've definitely seen plenty of buybacks that had nobody, like law enforcement there. And I think there might be um, like some of them when some buybacks they're trying to do different things, right? Like they're not all. It's not like there's the buyback company that does these. They all come up with them on their own, really. And no two buybacks have ever been the same unless it's a subsequent buyback from the same people, right? But I think that thinking about their purpose is part of it. If their purpose is to get guns off the streets, like they have a violent neighborhood, I don't really have a problem with that concept, right? Like let's get guns off the streets and we have a violent neighborhood and we just know that there's a lot of guns out there. So let's put a plea out there to get these guns here, right? Get them out of the neighborhood and here. So I'm thinking in that case of like a bunch of kids in a gang, they're not keeping their guns in their closet. They're keeping their guns under some garbage can in an alley somewhere, right? That they know isn't going to get messed with. And they know everybody in the neighborhood knows not to mess with it there. So I think some of these buybacks are aimed for that, the cousin or the friend or somebody who knows where those guns are to go grab them one evening and ditch them over to the buyback so that they're not on the streets anymore, right? I think that's what's the word, like that's commendable, right? Like that concept. And in that case, I don't think they'd want police there because I have definitely seen buybacks that are marketed to like, we don't care. Like, we don't want these guns on the streets and you got nothing to worry about. We're not trying to arrest you. Like, this isn't, what do you call it? Like an investigation. This isn't, none of these guns are going to be traced back to you. We just want these guns off the streets. And that's another reason, like I said, that's one of my reasons for why I don't like buybacks, but I have seen them marketed that way. And in those cases, I don't think there's cops anywhere near them. And is that legal? I guess. I don't think the cops need to be around when there's guns being exchanged, even if it's for stupid ass reasons, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I know in Jersey they got cops around all the time. I don't trust any of them. I don't like buybacks because they're bullcrap. It's just propaganda. There's more propaganda involved in there than getting guns off the street. Because I don't care about the gun on the street. Get the criminal off the street. We know who they are. They can target them when they want to, but it's not politically expedient because, the neighborhood. Oh my God, they're targeting young minorities. I'm like, bro, we're trying to get gangbangers off the street, and your neighborhood doesn't want them either. That's some crap that they push to you through media. Again, I work in a prison. I lived in New Brunswick. I lived in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I lived in Trenton, New Jersey. The people that are violent criminals and gangbangers, the people in the neighborhood want them off the street. It's just you're not telling on people who are your cousin, your best friend's child, and everybody knows everybody. And all of a sudden, you show up, the neighborhood gun goes missing, and you show up with brand new $200 sneakers
Yeah,
because the
exactly.
gun buyback was giving away freaking Foot Locker gift certificates. It's not going to take a detective to figure out who did what. Um, so yeah, there's a reason those things are kind of bullcrap. And again, they use it for propaganda. They don't use it to save the neighborhood because again, removing the criminal off the street stops the crime from happening. The criminal will get a firearm because it will go to his fourth baby's mama who doesn't have a record and have her go into the gun store and buy the gun for him. Or they will steal it from somebody who thinks just because they have a cable lock through it that it can't be stolen, and they'll just break into the truck that has the NRA and the "Don't Tread on Me" sticker in the back window and the Punisher logo, and they'll pop his glass, go in the back, use the bolt cutters to cut the little wire he has through his freaking sky, and take it.
Or go to a gun-free zone where people are forced to leave their shit in their cars, and
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Believe me, there's a lot of ways they get firearms, from stealing them from law-abiding citizens that are forced to disarm, because the restaurant your family took you to gets 51% of their profit from the sale of alcohol. You should know how much profit. Because some of the laws of that, if the restaurant has over half of its sales come from alcohol, you can't carry there. What?
Right, like
How do
Hooters.
I know?
Like, how are you supposed to know with Hooters? Like, because people go there for food, and then it's definitely a bar. Or like Chili's, like
How's
probably
this?
food. Like,
How's this? Your bowling alley.
yeah, exactly. Now I can tell you, I worked in a bowling alley. They sell way more booze
Oh,
than food, but it's tough. Yeah, you wouldn't know. And if it
I,
was,
I didn't know.
and if it was
Yeah.
like on a maybe I'm trying to think of, like, if they, what's the time frame? Because if they mean on like a Tuesday, yeah, I bet you it's food, because not that many people are going to a bowling alley drink. But if it's on a Saturday, yeah, I bet you it's booze.
hmm I'm like, this is the silliness that you deal with. And then how do they get guns? Because when you say it's complex, everybody wants a simple answer. And I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tirade, but I have these conversations. I have these real conversations with gun owners that don't know, and they're asking questions like you guys here in the chat, but also people that are on the fence or even slightly anti-gun, and they're sitting there with their arms crossed in my diversity shoots, and they ask this question. And I'm like, they're not. It's not like my volunteers are also on the side selling guns that they buy. That's not what's happening. There's various ways they get firearms, from stealing it to people that uh, lazily leave their gun in their car because they didn't want to bring it in the house, or that's their truck gun and they leave it unsecured, to people that have their firearms secured, or what they think is secured, in a vehicle, in a safe, locked up, because they were forced to disarm because they were picking their kids up from the school, or they were going into the friggin' post office for 5 minutes, and they got their windows busted and somebody stole their gun, because it's happened so much. It happened so much at an event I was in Atlanta that the police nearly didn't even come out and take a dang report. If it wasn't for the volume, the number of cars that were broken into, they wouldn't have come out. That's how often it happens. And then again, you have some people who get paid to traffic in guns. It's almost like a side hustle. A little old man down the street that's never been arrested, but he's trying to make ends meet, and he knows, hey, if I keep buying guns for these little clowns, I can get paid, I don't know, $100, $200 a gun that I buy. Yeah, that old man in here, he just keeps buying freaking, Glocks, police trade in Glocks. He must have a huge collection at home. No, he doesn't have one. So there are people like that. So there's a lot of ways firearms get into the community. And the gun buyback is mostly just propaganda. And then when they found out that these people that take the pictures were just taking guns, like taking estate buybacks and moving them around from buyback to buyback, taking pictures of them and saying, look what we got in. If you put them together, you'd realize, yeah, these are some of the same guns, and they just move them around. That's a true thing, too.
Okay, we got a bunch of questions and stuff coming in from this one. First, Gun Owners Radio's out there. Welcome. We do a show every
hmm
Sunday afternoon. You've been on, I'm sure, a couple of times, I think, at least, right? On their show.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
they're saying Michael recently talked to an officer about the buybacks he was running. I didn't see that. So is that on a separate, like, did you make a clip of that? I'll have to check that out, because I've got buybacks on my mind. I'm curious about hearing about that one. And then I'm going to go a little bit on a tangent or off subject a bit, but it's still on subject, but maybe off of guns a little bit. or maybe it is guns. Just on off. I'm going to go in a little bit different direction. But we're talking buybacks, and then you talked about keeping people off the streets or whatever, keeping criminals off the streets. And I don't have a problem keeping criminals off the streets, but I also don't like prisons, and I don't like that shit. I don't like the state, period, like the big state doing shit, and I don't like the big state telling, worrying about who's good or bad. It's that kind of that bothers me. So there's other options to. I think there's other options in from everything from you're like going into an area where you can, you have historic issues and figuring out what do they say, mitigating circumstances are, and then attempting to
Hmm.
address those. And I know that that's a lot of words, and often that gets turned into so that I can, put a bunch of administrative costs in here and milk this whole thing. So, I don't know how successful that concept has been in reality. But I mean, from that kind of concept of like, and I think that's everything from like community gardens, right, to like basketball teams and like access to options for kids to have something to do besides getting into trouble all the time. And then, but I'm really liking the idea too of, I'm going to say everything between. So I don't have to sit here for an hour lecturing everybody on everything they can imagine that, as an alternative to put somebody in prison. In other words, before they become a criminal, giving them some options. And I really like the idea of guns as an alternative to criminal lifestyle, because criminals don't get to have guns and enjoy them the same way that we do. And I like the idea of, you've got your Kids to Kings program, but there's lots of,
Hmm.
I mean, since the beginning of time, really, well, since the beginning of our lifetimes, the NRA and stuff is the whole point of that was an educator's a training and an education type of a focus to uh, at least give enough kids, what's the word, like experience with firearms, so that if they ever did go into the military, they weren't for the first time experiencing firearms. And I think we all know, again, I'm lecturing to the choir, the benefits of shooting, the everything from being focused to learning about the everything like we've been talking about, the maintenance to the how it operates to the discipline of how to shoot good, and then the lifetime of trying to improve all those things, right? And then just playing with the stuff and the toys and having fun with friends and the adventures and the events you get to go to, in the pursuit of all this stuff. And it's more than just a hobby, right? It's a community, or it's a culture, really. So I like the idea of bringing kids in to experience all that so that they figure out. I mean, that's probably one of the reasons I never became a criminal, is because I didn't want to lose access to all the cool stuff you can do as a non-criminal. There's a couple of cool things you get to do as a criminal, but it all rests on the fact that you don't go to jail. And there's a lot of fun stuff you can do as not being a criminal, right? And anyway, so I guess I'm using those two as examples. Everything from literally taking kids shooting to let them know, like, hey, guns are more fun than screwing around, or giving them other options, something they might like, other than guns. But and then I'll, I'm overlooking all the other options in between there that are out there. But where do you put that stuff in the, I don't know, in the hierarchy of, I would say, not just theoretical but like realistic? Is that something that's worth keeping on the table all the time, or is that just a bunch of wind that people put out there because they know they can, again, put administrative costs and overhead on these programs that have good intentions, but they know they're just doing it to milk the system or the government or whoever's paying for it.
Yeah, I look. My default is not with the government. Trust in the government and who they're giving work to. And I mean, truthfully, we've had guns that go in the freaking gun buybacks, and they end up back on the street, and the people that got them were the cops. So how did that happen? Boy, I got a cool story on that one. Um, let's just say somebody no longer has to worry about what they're going to do with their pension money because they ain't getting one. But yeah, it's like, how are you bringing these in? Like, it's just it's rife with the possibility of corruption and not doing what they say it's going to do. Um, and we all know it. So yeah, I just don't like it. And again, you're still leaving a criminal there because what we're talking about, the reason we're getting rid of the guns is because these people are supposedly violent criminals because that's who you want to get the firearms away from.
That's true. Like the gun's just sitting there. It's the violent person who picks it up and does something with it, or the person that's willing to be violent.
And yeah, you asked the question about is prison the only answer? Look, us as a society has allowed them to create this prohibition on drugs, and this drug is good and this drug is bad. This drug is more serious if it's prepared in a certain way. It's a different sentence, powder cocaine versus crack cocaine and more serious. Like, we've allowed that to happen. And we've watched criminal enterprises grow and they destroy neighborhoods. The CIA actually admitted to bringing them into the drugs into black neighborhoods and apologized for it, which I don't understand how you can apologize for destroying generations of people. But it's like we're aware they did this and we still do nothing about it because somehow the war on drugs needs to be won. Uh, the war on drugs has never been won. Drugs wins every single time. It's like, stop.
Well, that's a good point. Like nobody is being a violent gang member over like the shoe market or like resale of fancy
Uh-huh.
shoes, although they all value fucking shoes probably. Or, I don't know, pick a thing like cell phones or knives or wallets or jackets or anything, or cars even. Like they don't give a shit about any of that other stuff. But
Uh-huh.
it's one thing that's fueling it, one thing that's like fueling it financially and fueling the violence. And you're right. And I don't know if I would think I would include that. Is prison the only answer? Because I really think that that's a potential. I've listened to some people recently, mostly on the Ironclad Borderlands show. He's
Mm-hmm.
got some people on that he'll usually ask the question. Well, he's got good people. So he'll have reporters and stuff like that on. He'll have
Oh yeah, I watched it after
police
you told me about it.
but he'll ask them. A lot of people who are involved in this, like, should legalization or what would legalization do? Would that help it, or would that solve this or anything? And obviously, it's kind of falls into the two. Like a lot of people say, yeah, legalization would of all drugs in the United States would stop the cartels from having that whatever hold on it or make that money from that angle. But then just as many say like that ship has sailed and it wouldn't. But then they have other reasons why the legalization wouldn't work. And it's been interesting because a lot of times you just hear either the old fashioned Nixon drug war or legalization and not much in between. So anyway, I just think that's interesting. But I do think that changing our opinions societally and our laws for sure, and our what's it called, like the schedulization or something of the different drugs,
Mm-hmm.
that would definitely um, change the dynamic at least for what like the kids on the streets who are really just pawns. It's not like the kids on the street grow cocaine or fentanyl and shit. They're obviously getting supplied that by
Mm-hmm.
somebody, and either well, you listen to some of these conversations and who was it? I think it was Mike Drop had somebody on who was supplying crap. I think it was cocaine. So he was talking about stuff in the past, but this guy was moving a lot of cocaine from Florida up to like I forget if it was Michigan or Ohio or something like that. But I mean a lot, like truckloads of it, and they pretty much just did it by remote control. Like they made the arrangements, and every once in a while they'd show up to exchange money. But pretty much it was just a bunch of workers who were moving crates. They may not even have known what was in them because who would expect a giant thing, a giant box to be full of cocaine or whatever that you're dragging, with no guards or anything. You're just putting a big box of, millions of dollars worth of cocaine in the back of a truck and driving it to Ohio. I think they did use
Mm-hmm.
it money, but anyway, it was just amazing that like, 7 people were responsible for like most of the cocaine in Ohio for a good chunk of time. And it wasn't like they were too scared about much of anything because they all, at that level, they all knew where the law enforcement was and wasn't and did their thing. And anyway, when you think about it, there's not a lot of people involved in this stuff getting the drugs to the places. But obviously, once it's on the streets, it's the kids that are, the ones that are being the most violent because nobody in that, I guess the other part of that was the millions of dollars worth of cocaine being moved like that, there was no violence there. They didn't even have guards or guns or nothing. Like, they didn't need it because it was completely removed from any kind of violence like that. Where you get onto the streets and boom, that's where it's all at. And like I say, it's not being fueled by whoever's got the best grades on their homework, right?
Yeah, it's look, only the government will create a problem and then convince you that giving up your rights will help solve the problem. It's like you created this. You created the drug problem. You made it, you banned it, you did this, you did that. But listen, if you give us some money and sign off some of your rights and make it easier to seize people's stuff when we catch, oh, he's a drug dealer and has no other means of income, so we can take his stuff. Yeah,
And
nice
that'll solve
SRT.
it. That'll solve it, because then
Yeah,
he'll just turn to becoming a librarian or whatever.
yeah, that's it. He's just going to change. You know what? I was wrong, man. They got my car.
Yeah,
So
they
let
got
me start selling. Yeah, let me start selling Amway products to people. Get out of here. So, my issue is no, jail is not the answer. Prison is not an answer. It's a symptom of the thing the government itself did and failed at, by the way.
So Gun Owners Radio followed up with, most guns turned in were junk. People that were turning in valuable guns didn't care enough to actually go to an FFL to get fair market value. They just wanted to get rid of them. Bottom line is, it was just virtue signaling. Well,
Yep.
I mean, I definitely think there's that aspect to it. I think that it's a it's without. I think we should fight gun buybacks whenever they happen, because we can't let them seep in and become a thing. Like, they're not there's nothing about them that's good for our side. So I think they're worse than, I guess I'm saying they're not as benign as I would think virtue signaling is kind of benign. Like, you can ignore it. I don't think we can ignore the gun buybacks. But they're
One of the
definitely, I
most
don't think they're our
ridiculous,
number one issue, but I do think they're an issue.
they will lie to you. Now, if you watch, because hello, X, Twitter, you can look at New York police precincts and they will post up anytime they seize firearms.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's a Crossman BB gun, a hole.
And
Oh,
it'll be
yeah,
like
great.
a starter pistol looking 22 or something. Like, they
Hmm.
just, and I guess I get it. Like, they're trying to show that, like, we care about all these things. But yeah,
No, they don't.
it's
They
not
care about getting
justified
paid on.
concern about guns on the streets. That's for sure.
Yeah, there was no drive-by done with the Daisy.
Or with a 22 revolver starter pistol looking thing. Like, there's not much
Well,
problems.
here's your first hint today. Here's the first hint. When they come with the Red Rider, when you hear them shaking it, that precedes them shooting at you. Shucka, shucka, shucka. Run!
That's when
Drive by!
that's when you put up a garbage can lid and effectively block 100% of the issue.
Yeah, you pull out your Captain America shield / garbage can, and you run to the house. And you tell your mom because she's going to yell at them because they're going to put someone's eye out.
They show up and there's one of those little cone shaped holes in a window. Look what happened.
They almost got Lamar.
All right, a question that's
Lamar
been out
Latrell.
here. Question that's been out here forever, and I keep bumping it because it's a singular question, so I figured it's easy enough to come back to. But Krabby asked, "What's our thoughts on the 22 TCM pistols? Or is there more
I
than one?
wish it. No,
One.
it's all our guys over at Rock Island. I want every caliber to take off because the more options, the more better. I just think it's cool. Um, I don't know if Rock Island didn't release. I don't know what's holding it up, but I just thought it was cool. They changed it twice though. They changed the T22 TCM twice. One's a TCM and one's like a TCMR or something weird.
Yeah, it's not TCP, is it? But yeah, they made it and then they kind of remade it. Well, one was for 9mm, one was for 45, or oh no, they turned the bullet around. They turned the bullet around on one of them so that it would feed better or something like that.
They did something, yeah, because it was an improvement according to them. I just really wanted it to work out because I thought it was cool. I I like firearms, and I like the fact that there's a company, even if it's in the Philippines, which I love people all of a sudden they want to get involved in like every political decision made, but somehow they can't see we don't do the same thing. Um, anyway, I think it was cool. I think the guy was an American that put it together, right? The 22 TCM, he was a competitive shooter.
Yeah, that's part of the part I like about it. But the
Yeah.
the what is it? Rock Island, Rock River?
Hmm.
No, what's the name of the place
Rock
in
Island.
Rock Island in the Philippines is a company
Yep.
that was created because I think it's part of our strategic or even legal. Like we have something that requires us to be able to make ammunition out of the country in case we get in a war or something.
Nice.
So
Hmm.
we have to have, or the Philippines is one of our like ally countries that makes 223 for us. So we've been making 223 there forever. I mean, like a long time, maybe 45 and 223. I'm not even sure, but I know the 223 for a long time. So then, because of that, they, they've had a relationship with the United States. They were able to import, and that's where Rock Island, and then they make guns and now ammo, or ammo and now guns, I guess. But and then they started making ammo here also now, probably because of just shipping. Right? It's easier to just make the big heavy stuff here than ship it across water. But since
Yeah.
like they are making the 223, this I remember. Oh man, I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the year now. I'm guessing somewhere between 13 and 15 because I'm trying to remember who was around having these conversations. It was the years of Dead Horse for people that remember gun channels. It was when Dead Horse was doing a lot of stuff because somebody had the guy from uh, Rock Island on, and he was the president or whatever. And he was talking a bit about the interviewer asked questions about the history of the company, and they kind of went on about that more than I've heard before. And it was super interesting.
Hmm.
And I heard all this from. But basically, like you say, they brought some guy over who was a 45 ace because they made a lot of 1911s. So I don't know where
Yep.
that part comes from, but they make 1911s, and they were, let's say, they had a reputation of making sloppy 1911s that existed. They were well made, but they weren't tight, and everybody likes a tight 1911 or whatever. So
Now,
nowadays, exactly. Back in the day, they were fine. But anyway, they brought this guy who's some kind of competitive shooter to tighten up their gun. I say tighten, but make their gun better, and they did. Right? I think everybody likes their guns now, and this guy did a good job and everything. But I think it was that guy who they brought in who was looking at all the reject 223 cases, right? And he's like, "What's up with all this?" And they figured out that if you tool down that rejected, because the army is going to say, whatever our tolerances are, whatever our spec is, ammo has to meet that spec. So as they're making all this 223 ammo for the military, so it's fucking lots of it, right? They've got just big piles of ammo that or cases that got rejected right before it was even assembled into cartridges. So the guy was looking at all these cases, and he's like, "What if we cut them here and neck them down, and that's where you get the TCM or whatever it is. The TCM comes from
yep.
223 cases." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool as hell." And it'll fit in a 9 millimeter. But anyway, I just thought that was really cool the way that they're really just repurposing their 223 ammo into this. And as soon as I heard all that, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then they jammed it into a 9 millimeter magazine like body, and I was like, "Oh, that's lame." And then they flipped it around and it worked in a 45 or something like that, or was it 45 and then it went to 9 millimeter? Like I don't
Well,
really
what they
remember.
did was I don't remember. I know they swapped the barrel or something. I just know one, I like those guys. I've met them, multiple times. The owner and then his sister and some of their shooters. And they're down with, sorry, but dude, it's like when we have real allies, the Philippines, they've been with us since 1899. And it's like we still somehow insist on they're lesser than or something. Bro, they produce these firearms that people can afford. They're good. And they also do a lot of OEM manufacturing for companies that you don't know, just like Anderson Manufacturing. You can call them the poverty pony if you want to, but they make some of the guns that, the tactical Timmys drool over with that company's roll marks on it. but it's really a poverty pony. Same with Rock Island. They're original manufacturers of 45 different companies that you don't know about.
Yeah, I like them too. I think the company's cool. Like I say, I think the stuff that they've created is kind of neat, and I like the idea that they're like you say, been a part of the or like an ally for so long.
They also have a cool 38. They have an all metal Glock in both the Glock 17, 19, and I even think a 19X or a 43. I don't know. They have three different sizes of metal Glocks. And then they also work with Daria Arms to come up with the DY9, which is another Glock clone with all kinds of benefits. So Rock Island is more than just cheap 1911s. They're giving you a lot of bang for the buck for what you're getting. So that's how
Guns
we
and
I look
Water,
at them.
Guns and Water saying Rock Island upped its 1911 sales by shrinking and moving their logo. Yeah, I'm a big fan of like roll marks and stuff,
Yeah,
small as possible and out of the way. Especially now that
yeah, that thing is.
modify their guns and whittle on them or carve into them and stuff. So I think the less logos, the better. For me personally,
That logo was crazy. I mean, it was the whole side of the gun. They took a lesson from Ruger in that one. I'm like, dude, you get it. It's a Ruger.
Ruger's like, well, we paid for this engraving machine. We're gonna fucking use it, and then they write the entire user or half the user's manual on the one side. Like the entire side will be half the user's manual.
Exactly.
It's like I don't even know if they ever got sued, right? Like, did they even ever get sued? Like, I don't know who to ask at Ruger because they don't. I don't know who you would ask that. It's a big company now. It's not like there's one guy that you could answer that question to. But they must. I'm assuming they either got sued or they got afraid they were going to get sued. But I don't know. They seem to write a lot of stuff on their guns. I'm not saying the other companies don't, but I think I noticed it more on Ruger's maybe.
Yeah, who decided to who decided to put the Iliad on the side of every one of your firearms?
Do you ever color fill, like take nail polish or crayon or something and fill in engravings?
No. My FFL does it when I take too long to pick up my guns.
He'll do it to you, you mean?
He, huh?
He'll do it to you, you
What was
mean?
that?
Like
Yeah, he'll do it to my freaking gun. I didn't
every once
need this color fill. It comes with your crap.
we used
Because I have to actually go ahead.
I was just saying we used to do it
What's up?
on the mill serps with like a white crayon for a little while. That was the way to
Hmm.
go because it would just make the engravings a little easier to see, really.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, one of those little. I wish I could go back in time and do some cool stuff, pick up some extra Moses and do some cool stuff with it. But I'm not going to mess with any of mine. I probably, even if I went back in time, I wouldn't mess with them.
I used to mess with SKSs a little bit before I appreciated them, and then as soon as I started collecting AKs and stuff, I've never had any urge to take off a stock and screw with the mill serp. I like them the way they are.
Hmm.
The thing is, there was a lot different back in the day because you could go to a place and they would have 16, and you could buy one and leave it, and buy two and screw with them because they didn't cost that much, and there was 16. Like you could go back
Hmm.
and get another one if you really wanted one. Not everybody left one stock. I usually left one stock not because I was into milsurp, but because by leaving one stock, I figured I could get something else that comes in the future. Like this isn't the only stocks they'll ever come out with, so I'll buy another one because I knew they're going to be more expensive. I'll buy a third one, let's say SCAS or something. I'll buy a third one, and then 3 years from now, when they come out with a cooler stock, I'll have one to put that stock on, and I won't have to take these other stocks off. I thought of it more like that. But I know some people would be like, these things cost $30, so I'll buy one and leave it. I'll buy one and put a Tactical stock on it. I'll buy another one and put some other kind of stock on it, and I'll buy a third one, and I don't know, hack it up, take it to a chainsaw or something, and modify it,
Hmm.
or resand it. People
And
like
me,
them down a lot.
I talk smack and that do absolutely nothing to it. Leave it like it's not rifle is fine. But I would have a lot of daydreaming. But I would do
All of a sudden, you're breaking up for me. I'm seeing a little
it. Okay.
like low signal on your Wi-Fi, a little daily down here, though. That's probably why.
Hmm.
All right. Well,
Let me
we've been
see.
going
Yes.
for an hour today, but I don't think either one of us have like a hard stop. But if any other questions are out there, we got a heck of a lot of people watching today. Thanks everybody for watching. Um, I don't know if Tony, did you move around or something, or is your Wi-Fi just going up and down?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I went out to smoke a cigar, so I have the not laptop. What do you call it thing?
Yeah, no worries.
Pad.
It's not that bad. So don't worry. It's not that bad. It's just different, is all. But I guess if
Mm.
anybody's got any other questions or whatever, throw them out there. Let's see. Let's go back, and there was a couple of things I was actually thinking that I seen this week. I'm gonna go look at my YouTube history and see if that triggers anything for me. I was just watching Crump yesterday. I was sick the other day, so I can't remember when this came out, but I think I watched it yesterday. But Marion Hammer is suing the
Mm-hmm.
NRA. What a complete.
Mm.
They need to make a movie. Have you seen the movie? I think is it Jerry Seinfeld made it, where it's new and it's like about it's like a fictitious movie about how Pop Tarts were made.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
But anyway, they need to make like a comedic like movie about the way that the NRA happened, because but to teach a lesson, not just to waste everybody's time, but to like teach a lesson, because
Mm-hmm.
I really think that the NRA is something that is valuable to us as a community in so many ways. And there's plenty of people that basically people get paid $30 every time you join one of these other organizations. So they got nothing good to say about NRA. They got no interest in NRA because they're not paying them $30 every time somebody joins. So nobody's even putting any effort into it. But I always use that analogy that it's an aircraft carrier and blah blah blah. But that putting all that you know is definitely still an issue. But the idea that the NRA is like the antis hate it and it's so polarizing for us, but the way that everything went down in the NRA is another, and I think this is a factor, is that because it was a membership organization of 5 million people, that happened in front of 5 million people, with 5 million people taken for granted that the NRA was on their side. So there's a lesson to be learned there that, just because somebody says they're on our side doesn't mean they're not necessarily on our side 100% of the time, or that 100% of them are.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's an obligation more than the $30 a month to pay attention to what the fucking organization is doing, hold them accountable, all that stuff, right? So, in order to get all that across, I think you could really do something that was like funny, but not just a waste of time funny, but to keep people entertained so they'd watch the whole thing, but to show all the ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many fucking facets to the NRA, like so many things that come out of it, like our abilities in the Olympics, for example. Like how many golds would we have in the Olympics if we didn't have the shooting golds? Like it's overlooked by
Mm-hmm.
because they hate sports, or I mean they hate guns, but we're a big chunk of the Olympics, and that's because the NRA fucking makes it happen. And we take all that for granted, or we don't pay attention to it. But this Marion Hammer is such a weirdo. Like, she started off in maybe strong, or maybe she was fucking nefarious the whole time. But she's done a couple of interesting things, like Eddie the Eagle, and she was the first female president. But everybody's complaining about Wayne's suits. Like, she's way worse, dude. She's
Mm-hmm.
not worse, but she's just as bad, and just as much of a problem. In an indication of the kind of people that we as an organization allowed to take hold or whatever. But anyway, and of course now that's changing, and that's another part of it that people don't pay attention, don't appreciate, and don't well, they'll take for granted. Like I say, I'm not here to advocate for the NRA or anything, but I just think it's fucking interesting that she's suing them. So watching Crump, I don't know if you watch Crump, but he was going through the whatever you call like the lawsuit. It's all written out, and
Hmm.
allegedly the Bloomberg, one of the Bloomberg groups, was willing to pay her $5 million to quit being an advocate. And
Hmm.
again, just such a weird. It's like a comedy. Wait, it's being written for us. Like just that whole concept that Bloomberg would pay just such a loser $5 million to quit being such a loser. That would have actually helped us if she would have taken that 5 million and left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So it's fucking funny. And like I say, it's sad that nobody's going to really take a look at it from that angle. If they do make an NRA movie, it'll be, like I can't even imagine what an NRA movie would end up being. But it's like I say, it's like a crazy, twisty plot that's it's writing itself in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to Gangster Capitalist podcast, you'll learn a lot about what really happened and the clown show that it was, working with the marketing firm and all kinds of other things. And then there's behind the scenes stuff with just Coleon Noir alone that was ridiculous that I can't talk about, but it's out there.
Let's see, going back and looking at some of my other.
Because the NRA is not only, or, excuse me, at that time, and I forgot the name of the marketing company, because I looked it up last week and I forgot it again. But anyway, they were bereft of any moral fiber whatsoever, and they tried to copy what Maj Toure was doing and doing tours with Black Guns Matter, and then drag freaking Coleon Noir across the country and tried to make him do, you know, the Maj Toure we have at home. Like it was just ridiculous, dude. It was like Maj is from the hood and he's going to the hood, speaking hood language. You know what I mean? Like he has the track record. I mean, not track record, but like he has street credibility.
Well, he would stand on the street and just, hey, you want to talk about guns or whatever? You want to talk about guns today?
Mm-hmm.
Holding a blue gun or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was the beginning
And
of,
then you got
that
Coleon
was probably the
Noir.
first 2 years of it was just him videoing those kind of impromptu sessions or like, then he would give them something and then that would be a class and then, showing those classes.
And then you have Coleon Noir. That's a lawyer. Now Maj, I don't know if he finished high school or not. Self-educated dude. Uh, Made his hustle selling CDs and DVDs in Philly. Uh, and then, he's an extrovert. He gets things done. He's out there. He's in your face talking. Then you got Coleon Noir that started a YouTube channel, but the dude's really an introvert. And you're forcing him into this thing that's not even him. And it's somebody else's, lane. And he's trying to make it work because he's growing a community. He has huge numbers of viewers, but this is not what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm looking through my watch history and I can't figure it out. I feel like there was a couple of things that I was like, oh, I'm going to ask Tony about this on Saturday.
Mm.
I'll think of them as soon as we're done chatting for sure.
Yeah, right. As soon as we get off air. Um, yeah. So let me see. 357 questions. Oh, sorry about that. What was I thinking about? Oh, I was watching some of these guys, somebody else's podcast. I ain't gonna put it out there, but it was annoying because there's two retired police officers that are older. You know what I mean? Like older. I'm assuming in their mid 60s or older. I don't know. Um, and they were talking about traveling with their firearm and how it's no big deal. You know what I mean? It's like, you just go and do it. It's no stress. And I'm like, bro, I find it annoying, I guess, that firearms community forgets that everything ain't a monolith. Everybody's not you. Everybody doesn't live where you live or have your own perception. And that just being a firearms owner is a lot more difficult for someone in states like New Jersey, New York, and now people out in Oregon and Washington learning how pain of an acid is. People in Connecticut already know. You know what I mean? People in Massachusetts already know. It's not just, there's a stress on just having the thing that I don't think a lot of people get. Like when I carry, again, legally out of the state, I have a totally different feeling than when I cross Delaware Memorial Bridge and come back into Jersey. Because I know there's cops out there that do not know New Jersey's laws. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure, dude. I can't even imagine
There are cops out
how
there.
big are the forces
There
out
are
there.
cops out there. Yeah, they don't know that actual hollow points are illegal, even though I won't carry hollow points because of that ignorance on law enforcement side. They don't know what the laws are. They don't know where I can be, but that won't stop them from arresting me, towing my stuff, seizing my firearms that I'll probably never get back, and and all of that is on my mind every time I cross the border coming back into this state. Now, I was in Atlanta, very high crime rate in Atlanta. Um, what, I should leave my firearm here and just go, well, I hope nothing happens because I don't want to be bothered about going back into Jersey and wondering if I'm going to get arrested by the police because they don't know the law. And then I got these two police officers talking about it's no big deal, just travel. I'm like, dude, it's no big deal when you have a Leosa on your side and there's retired law enforcement you can carry in every state. And then they were talking about dealing with TSA and TSA agents that aren't gun savvy, and I'm like, bro, most people aren't gun savvy. Can you stop? Firearms are owned by what, about 40% of this nation. 40% of the adults in this country have a firearm in their house, but that's 60% of adults in this nation that don't, and don't even know anyone that owns a gun, or at least, excuse me, 40% that don't have a, excuse me, 60% that don't have a firearm in their home. Because when I went to fly out of Newark, I've flown out of Newark with a firearm. I've flown out of Trenton with a firearm. I've flown out of Philly with a firearm. It's a whole different attitude between flying out of New Jersey airports and flying out of Philadelphia airport, Pennsylvania airport. It's a completely different world when I flew out of Tennessee or when I flew out of Florida comparatively. And it's like, yeah, it's dodging it there, dude. Because not only do I have to deal with the TSA, I got to deal with the gate agent with the airline. More than likely, that gate agent supervisor, oh yeah, and the gate agent beside them that ask questions because they don't know what to do. Then I know the police are there, and they might not know what to do. Then I got to go to the TSA guy or lady and hope they know what they're doing. So it just bothers me when I listen to how easy it is, and I shouldn't stress over it. And I'm like, bruh, it knocks years off my life just to carry this thing. I totally understand that going to New Jersey with a firearm is a stress-inducing thing. Um, but hey, it speeds up the heartbeat.
Well, and to some extent, it's worth it because it's like the rusty hinge, right? You're wiggling that rusty hinge, and at some point, enough of those gate agents and people that deal with it will see it occasionally and rarely enough that it becomes, at least something that they're not completely unfamiliar with. But I'm sure that's going to take a little while. What do you think the number of people traveling with guns in New Jersey through airports is? Like 1% or 2%?
Well, I can go ahead. Well, I can go ahead and put it at there's 50,000 concealed carry holders in New Jersey at this time.
How
Most
many?
of them don't carry. 50,000. It's gone up in 2 years from 1,700 to 50,000. Which you go, wow, that's a lot until you realize there's 1 million firearms ID holders in the state.
I'm going to ask my robot.
So it's still a verse.
How many CCW holders are in each state? Show me in a chart. I'm going to see if the robot will do that for me.
Oh, that is weird.
As of 2024, approximately 22.9 million Americans hold concealed carry permits with significant variation across states due to differing laws. 29 states have adopted constitutional carry, allowing eligible anybody who wants to know what that is. Below is a chart in select states. I didn't want select states. I said all 50. Now do it for all 50 states. Stupid.
You have a living computer. Access. That'd be so great if it was a talking computer and you could just make it sound like an angry black woman.
I have my GPS sound like I don't know if it's Australian or English lady.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I tell it to shut up, I don't feel so bad. Because she's speaking to me in condescending.
Yeah.
Worthless. So I told it to give me every 50 state. Essentially, allegedly, Arizona doesn't have any permit holders, and that makes it no percent of the population. Colorado, none. Connecticut, none. Delaware, none. Yeah, it just made up numbers. So, robot failed.
Thank goodness they don't have any because there'd be blood running in the streets of people shooting each other and
Oh, yeah.
road incidents at every light.
Just the other day, I wanted a parking space, and if I would have had a gun, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Gunswatter saying nothing could make me go to New Jersey with my gun. I literally, when I was in that neck of the woods, I did go out of my way to go through Pennsylvania and I guess just Pennsylvania to not go in New Jersey.
You'll burn a tank of gas to get around New Jersey. And that'll be a smart move.
And it was just the corner. It was just a clip. Actually, it was a north. I don't remember. I was going from New York down to DC, so I don't remember anymore how the roads went. But it would have been just on the highway, but it would have been maybe 2 hours of driving or something like that, I think. And I was like, nope, I'm going to go another number of hours through. And I ended up going down this like kind of parallel in some river. So it actually took forever. So it was that much further. It's just that it was a little dinky road that's, had stoplights and stop signs and stuff every 5 minutes. So it just took forever. It was super. But I was the same way. I just felt like there was nothing I could do. When I was going into New York, I went to Pennsylvania first and went to a gun shop and had them clean my guns for me. So the gun shop took my guns into their books, cleaned them, right? And then I could go into New York without any guns, come back, pick up my guns from the gun shop. Everything was good to go. And I thanked the guy and paid him for cleaning my guns for me. But I didn't, I was going through New Jersey. So it's not like, with New York, I was going back and forth. I was going in and coming right back out to the same place. So it just wouldn't have been practical. I couldn't have done it. So that's why I decided to just drive around. Because the worst thing is you get a flat tire, something like that you can't, unavoidable, or maybe just a traffic jam. And or maybe it's a thing like, some bomber or something had a van. And then it's like, oh, we're stopping all the vans. It's like, oh, shit. So you don't know what kind of weird stuff could happen. And, well, I was just planning to be driving through. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I would have been screwed in 6 ways, probably. But anyway. Now, if I was driving to New Jersey, I think I would have done the same thing. Just gone to Pennsylvania and had somebody clean my guns for me, and then gone in and done my stuff and come back out.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Last thing you want to do is check in and not be able to check out of this state. I mean, they wrote book. One guy wrote a book about it. I know his first name is Brian. I can't remember his last name. He had to move out here and had his mother, stepmother, one of them call the police and say he was suicidal. And they got his gun. They locked him up. Oh, they're illegal. Yada yada. This whole thing. And it was like, why? Oh, because you got family that are interrupting you, and he wanted to drive off and move out and not have anything to do with it. Yeah, yeah. Went to jail, wrote a book about his struggle here.
The blue
That's
tent.
also where I'm trying to get my. I think so. What's his name?
Hold on.
I
If
think
I'm
that's the name.
Brian D. Atkin. Yeah, that's probably it, huh? Brian
Yeah,
T.
Brian Atkin. Yeah.
So the blue tent sky. How the left's war on guns cost me my son.
So I look at something like that as very frightening and very possible to screw anybody over. I mean, right now I have two people I know that were red flagged based on bald faced lies. False, like impossible that what was said happened, and you still have to go through the legal process. And actually, that's one of the things that even bothers me. I was doing something at work, and it's one of the federal policies that we have working in a prison as part something called PREA, which is Prison Rape Elimination Act, and it's designed that allows inmates to report if they were abused, sexually abused in any way. And even when it's known this person is lying, they investigate it anyway. And people are like, well, that's no big deal. No, it's on your record as an officer that you were accused of, of that. So if the inmate doesn't like you, if the inmate is just one of those people that want attention and want the world to burn, they learn your last name, they write you up and said that you did something horrible to them. You don't even have to be there. They just overhear your name because this happened to people that weren't even there. And now it's under investigation. Can you imagine trying to get a job at another police department and they look on your record, see you've been accused of sexual assault of inmates 3 different times? What are your chances of getting that job?
I didn't even know that was an aspect of it. Then that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. One of them, the guy wasn't even at work, never had the unit, never been on the unit, never had any interaction with an inmate. That's on his record now. And for the people out there to go, where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah, this thing in the world is nuance. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and layers.
it's a different situation when you see everything. Oh, what's the word? Like you're so pessimistic that you see everything stacked against you anyway. You're in jail, let's say, or prison, and uh, who knows what you're where you're at. Where the person is in respects with ever seeing the free side again. So what do they got to lose?
Mm-hmm.
And plus, they could just be
Mm-hmm.
bored, or I mean, tons of things. So yeah, that's somebody sitting out here saying what I would do or what they would do. It's like I can only assume it's a lot different when you're sitting in there with whatever.
Man, it's a lot. It's a lot different if you use your imagination and just working there. Uh, because I'm like, yeah, it's no big deal. Understand? I've never been in this hotel, or I've never been in this like doing my job. And then one day I was in the older part of the prison. Now our prison's been around since the early 1800s. That particular part. uh, and the jail itself has been there. It's the second oldest operating prison in the country. And I was in a cell because they were doing a mass movement, i.e., people were coming out, going to yards. So it was a significant portion of inmates out, and I couldn't be out on the floor at that time. So they put me in the barber chair in the cell that is now the barber shop for that unit. So the door was closed and locked, and I'm sitting in a barber chair, and the lights were out. So I'm just sitting in this darkened cell, freaking the f out, bro. And I'm trying to calm myself down. Like 2 minutes in, I'm like, they're gonna forget about me. They're gonna forget about me, and I'm just gonna be in this cell. And it was just like it just felt the walls closing in. It was really weird that I had to go, "Hey, dummy, you've been in here all of 5 minutes," and it was just weird, dude.
I've been.
It
I
was
went to
just
the Los
weird and scary.
Angeles Museum, Los Angeles Police Museum, right? And they it's basically an
Hmm.
old police building from the back in the day. You know, it's I don't even know, maybe the 30s or 40s or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's the you go. It's big square a big square cube. You go in the front door. There's the desk, and then probably where that sergeant would be sitting or whatever. And then you got some offices around the first floor. But then the whole bottom, the rest of the first floor is, I guess you'd call it like the processing. There's some bathrooms, and then the jails or the holding cells, I guess, are a big giant room or a big open room with bars that are like leather, like they may be like a leather belt except made out of iron, like that kind of metal strapping that they weave and made into a big cage. And so it's basically just a these two or three, I forget, maybe four big cages made out of this metal strap that that have a door or whatever. But so you can't do nothing in them. Like anything you're doing in there, everybody else is seeing because they're just big cages, right? And you can't get out of them or anything, but you're not in a room or anything. So anyway, it's the museum. You can just walk around and do whatever you want, and the doors are all open. I don't remember if they swung open or closed anymore, but anyway, you can go into those cells, and like you say, just going into that cell, and like again, you could look around, like you could see the rest of the room, and it wasn't like claustrophobic, like you're in a closed hole or anything, but just knowing that if it was a situation where they did close that door, how screwed you'd be being in that cage. Like it's creepy.
Hmm.
Full and well that I could just walk right out, but it was still super creepy going in there. And then if you think about who the fuck else has been in there, I don't know if that wigs you out or not, but
Hmm.
who else has been in there? What have they been doing in there? Like, I'm sure nothing good.
Hmm.
Well, maybe a lot of nothing, but then some weird shit and some horrible shit probably.
Understand there were some horrible human beings in prison. Dr. William April, most people who passed away a few years ago, psychologist, but also I think he wrote a book. He has a series of videos, and he had a class talking about um, felons and how they think. And I think it was really important, especially firearms owners, to read his books. And then you understand when you're looking at people in prison, it's just not you. It's just not you and someone that thinks like you. Even if they were a normal, regular person, after a certain amount of time in there, you have to adjust the way you think, and your perception of right and wrong and morals and everything else has to be adjusted if you want to survive. So it's not as easy as people think. Well, you'll change. You'll change. And that's what I hate about when they have these people that are falsely accused of something. Uh, they're just knowingly falsely accused, like this Indian guy that just got locked up because a woman said he tried to kidnap her son. Dude spent 45 days locked up in jail, not prison, but jail. Still, your freedom is gone. You can't go where you want. You can't leave. You can't eat what you want. You're staying in this thing. Depends on how they had him locked up. You're sitting in some bathrooms if you have a tub in it, like a bathroom with a tub and a toilet and a sink. That's it. And enough room to lay down. And if you're lucky, you're by yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say the whole other aspect is like how to just deal with life in prison with the other inmates and stuff has got to be not appealing in any way.
Mm-hmm. Now, people, oh, you earned it. Hold on, pump the brakes a little bit. There's certain things you earn, there's certain things you got to live with. What if you didn't earn it? What if you didn't earn it? What if it's bullcrap? What if it's something silly like child support? Oh, you should have paid for your kids. Yeah. Well, I can't pay for them in here earning $5 a day. Something else that doesn't make sense. The government helping again. If you have a state license and you don't pay child support, you can lose that license. Well, that license is how I earn a living. So the doctor that doesn't pay child support can't practice medicine. How is he going to ever pay the child support he owes? Lock them up. They make $3 a day, and we pay for that. Excuse me, they make $1.55 a day. I think that's how much inmates in New Jersey get paid.
You mean if they get a job or whatever in there?
No, no, no. You just get that for being alive in prison.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that they
if
all
you get a job, I think. Yeah, I mean, you get something for cleaning your room. They call it in here where I work. They call it inside cell sanitation, just for living and keeping your living area livable. You get paid $1.50. But if you have a job and you do something like you're an electrician or inmate electrician or inmate welder or one of the skills, I think you can get paid as much as $8 a day. Even little Asian kids building Jordans in the sweatshop laugh at you.
But still, $8 is
Like, look
a
at
lot
you.
of money.
You're
Unless a thing of ramen costs $8, it's like you think you'd end up having a lot of money if everything like that.
yeah, no, that's not a lot of money. Everything still costs stuff. Even though some stuff is at a reduced rate, you still gotta pay to see a doctor, but it's not, what we pay to see a doctor is a copay, but it's still a copay. Uh, Ramen stuff like that, shoot, just the batteries if you want to use their version of what's the Walkman, it's like $8 a battery.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Well, they probably got it figured out so that they're not sitting there with like hundreds and hundreds of dollars in their accounts and shit.
well, some people can have hundreds of dollars because they get support from family or something else, or even they could be filthy rich. I mean, I don't know if there's a limit to how much money you can have, but most people don't. And after a while, your family forgets about you because they got to live their lives. I mean, I mean, some people you watch them and they've got the same people coming for years and they don't miss a holiday and they don't miss any of that. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But what about the person that no one has seen? No family member has seen since the Reagan administration or something. Like it's crazy. And everyone's not a murderer. Everyone's not a gangbanger. I'm not throwing a pity party to anybody. I'm just saying, hey, life is a little different than the TV shows show you.
Well, like I said, that's probably a lot different if it's like a tax issue and you get into jail for it. Your family's probably going to show up, but if you kill grandma, you probably don't expect your family to show up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the way we got on it was talk about traveling in Jersey being legal with firearms, just getting caught up in Jersey stupid laws. But then, for somebody that works in the prison, I'm like, it's not just as simple as, oh, well, you got locked up for 6 months, but you got out. I'm like, bro, that 6 months changed a man.
No, that's a good point. And I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say, just to throw it out there, that it's not as bad as like it's because it's been in the news. You see we always knew about like jails in Mexico or something, or it's just South America in general. But when they sent all those, I forget who back, the MS-13, whoever they sent back to El Salvador and put them in those massive cages, it's not that bad. But I mean, because those they're definitely paying a price for their shit that they pulled. Um,
Well,
and
they
what
thought it'll
sucks,
never happen to them, right?
well, what sucks for them is, yeah, exactly. They figured, well, if we stand around in a big group, the couple of us that did the most heinous shit will be fine, and they can never get us because we got a whole group. Well, guess what? Now you're all paying for this most heinous shit, and well, ideally, that's going to teach a lesson, right, for a while to come. That you don't just get to hang. If you have enough of you, you don't get to do whatever you want. But
Mhm.
is it unprecedented? I mean, that's a really big thing. But I guess I'm saying those prisons are kind of what I was talking about in jail and in Los Angeles Museum, because the ones I saw were giant cages, huge cages. They were putting hundreds of people in each cage, but I mean, they didn't have a wall. All they had was cage. So like nothing about anything was done there. Was observed. Everything was being observed constantly, 100% of the time. Just God, I can't even imagine. Plus hundreds of people
Yeah.
in a cell. It's just well, they also murdered a fuck ton of people, so it's hard to, and then hung out with people who murdered a fuck ton of people. So it's hard to,
Mhm.
you know. Well, anyway, we're not here to solve the fucking world. Uh,
Nope.
but yeah, I'm gonna say, if anybody else has any other questions or whatever, it's not like we got a hard stop, but it is 2 hours, so we might as well start wrapping it up.
Okay.
Mr. Knives was out
Yes,
there.
sir.
I don't know if he's still out there, and I've been thinking about this for a while. Um, but I'm going to put it out there for everybody. But I'm going to ask Tony, if you were to make a chocolate dessert, or if you were to have a chocolate dessert, you know, brought over by some kind of service right now, or have a really good gourmet chef come out and whip one up in your kitchen there, what chocolate dessert would you be having today? So not necessarily what's the best chocolate dessert, just what did you have a hankering for?
Okay. If we got gourmet, I want a gourmet from a chocolatier. I want gourmet Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, like all top
Like,
of the line ingredients. Yeah.
yep, yep. Because I already know I like it, right? And it's like, well, what would you do if you got like the best chocolate, the best this, the best that? That's something. I wouldn't want to get something I've never had before because I might not like it, or it
I
might
got.
not be all. I had Dubai chocolate.
I was just going to ask you that. So
That was
you had it then?
had it. I bought it for my wife. I purchased it for my wife because it was a TikTok thing, and she gave me her review of it. She was like, it was okay, but it wasn't, this great thing that the overhyping TikToker said it was. So I picked it up myself. I tried it, and I was like, I pretty much agree with my wife. It was okay. The chocolate was really good and rich. It was quality chocolate, but that is just a feeling that I'm not. And I can't help but think, really good quality peanut butter. The quality smooth peanut butter. It's not sweet, but it complements this.
You broke up a little bit there. But it sounds like you're saying that it wasn't, you're saying it didn't complement the chocolate, like the flavor of that stuff? Oh, he's dropped out now. Yeah, I bought a jar because I can't get that thing anywhere, or at least I couldn't. I looked around a little bit to try to get one of those Dubai chocolate bars, and I couldn't find them in town anywhere. So I just bought a jar of the whatever that green stuff is, the pistachio butter, and I just stuck
Mm-hmm.
my finger in there and tasted it. Or did I stick a chocolate bar? I think I just stuck my finger in there since I just bought it to see if if I what it would taste like. I was gonna try to make one, I guess, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like it either. It was kind of like it wasn't peanut butter, and it wasn't like I've had cashew
Mm-hmm.
butter, which is just peanut butter with like a cashew.
Mm-hmm.
This was like
Mm-hmm.
not didn't have a sweet flavor or nothing. It was just kind of I don't know, like a baby food or something
Gritty.
flavor. Yeah, I just didn't like it, and I was like, the I can't figure out what that stuff is, or at least I couldn't find it at like the Walmart, so I didn't know what the crunchy stuff is. But I'm assuming it's something like a potato chip chocolate thing, like where it's a little bit crunchy and salty, or is it not salty?
I didn't feel it was salty. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It was like, okay, and maybe it's the American palate. Understand, we're talking there's a difference in what we expect
Yeah.
the rest of the world eats, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of us forget that.
So anyway, so that's different than a Reese's though, because a Reese's different than a peanut butter cup at least because it's a whole bar and it has to be so freaking thick that has that goop in there that uh, it becomes a massive thing. And there's no way. I don't think anybody's going to eat that whole bar at one time. So he dropped out again. There it is.
You know what I mean?
No, you dropped out. All I heard was no. What you
Awesome. Anyway, yeah, as an adult, I want better food.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I don't want I don't want nostalgia snacks all the time.
So Foss is saying Reese's lost a little respect for Tony. So I don't think he likes Reese's, but I think it's
Hmm.
because of the taste of the chocolate and the peanut butter. I don't think it's because
Hmm.
of peanut butter chocolate mix. I might be wrong, but you're saying you're trying to go for a gourmet version of a peanut butter cup, not
Yeah.
necessarily a
Hmm.
recreation of a Reese's. You're trying to get past the failings of
Yeah.
the Reese's, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want a pedestrian Reese's Pieces cup because no, they're not great, really. I mean, it's great when you're a kid and it's candy, and you rarely get to have candy. But as an adult that can buy whatever I want, yeah, I'd like a gourmet version of that, like elevated. See how high you can get without doing something silly like putting gold leaf on it, because that's just ostentatious and silly.
Yeah, you literally just poop that out. I got no interest in doing that. It just seems like a waste. Let's see. I was thinking I would go for one of them, whatever you call like a 7 layer or whatever, where it's like thin layers of cake and then frosting and one of them kind of 7 layer
Mhm.
thing. But
Yeah.
is that I've had good ones. A lot of times, the ones I've liked the best were at the buffets in Vegas. Honestly, like whoever they get their stuff from, like I like their kind of style on that. But when you get one from a bakery, though, it's just 1,000 times better than I don't know anything you're going to get at a supermarket. So that's my problem. Is I've probably been hankering one of those, a slice of that, but I just don't know where to go to get a good slice of it. Because if you go to just a regular restaurant, um, you're going to end up getting a slice of frozen cake, and they're okay, but they're not the same as a bakery who's baking them. But anyway,
Oh,
that's what I
heck no.
for chocolate. Have you ever taken one of them and put a big hunk of chocolate ice cream on it?
On what?
I believe that's legal. To done one of a slice of that big ass chocolate cake or 7 layer.
No, I haven't, but sounds. Oh, actually, yes, I have. Oh, did I not produce that picture? It's on my Google Maps account.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, because I do food reviews on Google Maps. Started out, I think I told you, but I don't know if we said it on here. But I started out just trying to remember good places to eat because Marco's a bad influence on me. and, and when he travels, he was like, "Dude, I'm not going to chain restaurants. I want to see a local flavor and get good local restaurants." So that's what I started doing. But I had to, my memory's horrible. So I just started writing it down on, as a review and took pictures of it. And it just turned into something. I think I'm over 30 million views now.
That's pretty cool. I did that for a good long time too. I haven't done it recently, but I also haven't been going out to eat. At least when you go to the same like 6 restaurants, for a whole year, like I don't really go to that many restaurants. I guess I just don't think about
Hmm.
it. But when I was traveling, for sure, that was my. I really enjoyed that aspect. I mean, that's half of the fun of traveling. Going to see
Hmm.
places, something, but it's an opportunity to just eat so many different things.
Try different foods. Try different foods from an area. Like, what do you eat here?
Yeah, well, and I would pick a thing, so like onion rings, let's say, and then every time you go somewhere you get onion rings, you get to see their spin on it, right? Their take on it, type of thing. And I'm
Yeah, and
sure
again, oh,
barbecue and shit like that would love it, or hamburgers or something like that would love it. But then you know what? I shouldn't say that because I literally have traveled. I've done quite a few road trips in my day. And I've traveled with
Mhm.
people who do not like they want to go to Denny's every night. We've done a road trip like that where we
Yeah.
eat so often because it's consistent. Like I've again know people that would go to McDonald's every time they travel because they want to get the same exact food. I think it might have been because of their guts, like whatever,
Yeah.
they got accustomed to McDonald's, and if they eat anything outside of that, like they start getting the shits or something. So I feel sorry for them. Like I think that's part of the reason to eat a bunch of different stuff. I mean, I get sick all the time. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I'd rather get sick once in a while and be able to eat wherever I want instead of being restricted. But I don't want to forget about that. There's probably issues people have. But even then, even if you have some kind of, like you're don't want to eat salt or something, you can find that region's salt-free foods.
Yeah. I mean, I feel it's like I was supposed to go to train and learn. I've changed my mind. I'm not going this year. I'm going to pursue, becoming a 501c3 and use that money for that.
Right.
But one cool thing about going to train and learn is outside of Atlanta. So now I get to hit restaurants in that area and check them out. I forgot the name of the place everyone went last year, but it was pretty cool.
Well, when you drive,
Um,
there's opportunities on the route as well, right?
yeah, I mean, I plan those only because I look, you don't want to get caught in some crazy, after work traffic somewhere. So I time it. But yeah, I do that too. Uh, and being from down south, but living up north, the food that's served in the gas stations that serve food is different. Uh, so I got down south between South Carolina and Georgia, and they had pork chop sandwiches and catfish sandwiches at the gas station. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting this because living in Jersey, it's like, yeah, you can have a sub or you can have a pork roll, egg and cheese, or Taylor ham, egg and cheese, whichever part of Jersey you come from. I'm like, yeah,
You
no,
mean,
I
you
want
mean at a
something
gas
totally.
station?
Yeah, like we have Wawa here, which is a chain. It's like 7-Eleven, Circle K. They got food in the gas station. They actually got a kitchen where they make food, where they make your food. And up here, they got certain things because you have the taste buds of the people up here. You got the taste of where you live.
Yeah.
It's still regional. As big as America is, it's still regional, even though we have a lot more crossover than we had 30 years ago. Thanks to the Food Network and cable and the internet, you have a lot more crossover.
Well, and then
But
few
still,
distributors who can put stuff in a giant freezer building, and somebody can make, empanadas, and all of a sudden everybody wants empanadas. No problem. Just order them from the place, and you got them tomorrow.
yep. But then when you're down south somewhere, it's like, yeah, totally different distributors. And what takes off is different. And I think that's enjoyable. That's fun. And those fried pork chops were banging. A
Oh,
pork
fried
chop
pork chops.
sandwich.
Are you saying deep fried?
Uh huh. Deep
Oh,
fried
okay.
pork chop.
No bone though,
No bone.
because it was on a sandwich. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that whole idea of like food in the gas station is fairly new to me. Like that wasn't a thing when I was a kid, except for if you count like giant
Mm
truck stops, which I didn't really count because they existed, I guess, but nobody was going to them for the food destination. I don't think. But
hmm. Mm
I went through Texas and Amarillo. There's a place. It's not Bucky's, but it's essentially a giant gas station, and then
hmm.
a
Mm hmm.
restaurant in the place, which is more like a restaurant in a gas station than anything else. But anyway, that was the first time I experienced like, yeah, you could stop and uh, get like basically a full meal, and I don't even know if they had places to sit. Like it was eventually a takeout place. Um, and then some other place I went, they had barbecue or something, and then all of a sudden they were everywhere. But the chains, I think, well, people figured out that hey, yeah, if I'm in a place where the it lines up, whatever, in between restaurants or in a good place for truck commuters, like who knows what the formulas are, but they figure out, yeah, if we provide food, then we make bank.
Well, you provide good food. People even from that neighborhood might come in because it's a better restaurant than what they had because it's just a stop. You
Yep.
know, it's not a major metropolitan area. So now you got the truck stop, which has, I mean, that's how I don't know when Bucky's became the thing, but we got Flying J's, we got other pilot truck stops, and they started putting restaurants in them, and then they started selling stuff, and it became a stop. It's like, yeah, I mean, heck, I got this crazy Stetson I picked up on the way back from NRA that I've been, wearing
Dude, as much as I
at a
want to
truck
go to
stop.
like a hole in the wall restaurant, like what CNT is saying, like I'd rather go to the mom and pop restaurant, like the local one that just there's only one of every time. Like no
Hmm.
one,
Oh yeah.
I only go to a chain if like somebody else makes me go to a chain. But the opposite, if it's gas, I want to go to something like a Flying J, whatever you just said. The other
Hmm.
are big.
Pilot.
One, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, because one, they're gonna be probably clean, have everything, but because like you said, they're like almost like a supermarket right away, and they'll also don't care
Hmm.
hang out for 3 hours, and you're safe to hang out there for 3 hours. The little ones may or may not. I don't want to say all little ones are not, but I've been to some places that I did not want to be there very long. Like you know what I mean, like for all kinds of reasons. Like there's some
Yep.
not great gas stations in the world. But and then also just useless gas stations. A lot of time gas stations are just pumps. So unless you want something out of a vending machine or not even a vending machine, like just all you get is gas and maybe some water to wipe your windows off. So if you want anything else besides that, uh, out of luck.
Yeah. I mean, there in this audience of what I've seen, we got a lot of people that travel, more than some shows. Some people never leave their home or never really go on long trips, and you've driven cross country probably multiple times. Uh, I mean, as far as I've driven out as an adult, there's St. Louis uh, driving. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
travel further, but yeah, actually in a car, yeah.
Yeah. So, but my
Well,
whole
here's the
thing
thing:
is
you
definitely.
drive from New Jersey to St. Louis and back. That's the same thing as driving from St. Louis to, or I mean, from New Jersey to California, right? I mean, as far as
Mm,
like time on
yeah,
the road,
true.
it's not the same stuff twice, but you know, that's the same time in the car.
Yeah, yeah. Especially the way I went because I didn't go right back. I did a circular thing. Um, but I make sure I hit those Flying J's, pilot truck stops, loves, like the bigger ones, and I do it when I have about half a tank of gas because I don't want to go below. And I'm trying to time it that I'm not at these places at midnight because crime happens, But these places have well lit, usually clean, and all on camera. And you might not get that with the mom and pop or the little small ones, or nope, not playing with that. Not dealing with your little local crap. I'm not dealing with, oh, everybody knows you don't go to that gas station. Well, no, everybody doesn't know that. And I don't want to be in a position that I'm forced to stop at your local Thugs R Us gas station. Because, like I was joking in Atlanta, I'm like, I got this Glock on a deal. I really don't want to use it.
I'm more scared. Like I've been to gas stations in cities before because I don't know where the hell neighborhoods are, right? Like you're just driving around,
Hmm.
especially when the gas thing, the little gas apps are telling you where the cheapest gas are. Like I don't really care where I go to
Hmm.
the gas station. I'm not an idiot, but I'm also I don't think I don't think I'm delusional, but I also don't think everybody gets murdered every time they go to a gas station. I guess, right? I'm not
Hmm.
doing weird shit to get myself murdered, so I don't mind going into a bad neighborhood. Is all I'm saying. But so as many bad neighborhoods as I've been, I guess people would say like bad neighborhoods, like clutch your purse or something. I might lock my door or something if I'm going to a super bad neighborhood and I'm going to leave my vehicle out there. But I'm way more creeped out when I go to the middle of fucking nowhere, like desert usually, but sometimes middle of nowhere, forest or something, and it's like one of those. It's only the pumps are working. There's no human, or there's no human at the moment, or maybe even no humans. Period. Because yeah, who knows who's sitting out with a rifle or something? And I mean, who the fuck
Hmm.
knows? Like, it's so much easier to kill somebody or do something weird to somebody in the middle of nowhere when you're by yourself than like say I'm just not afraid when I'm in bad neighborhoods or whatever, quote unquote.
No, no, I don't play with that either because again, black on black crime is a real thing. Um, it's like, yeah, no, no, they might not even come out. So no, um, but just head on a swivel, paying attention, and don't put yourself at risk. But yeah, you don't know what neighborhoods. Did I tell you what happened when I was in Atlanta about the Best Buy?
I don't think
I
so.
might have told you guys. So I had to get some stuff for the podcast while I was down at NRA, and it's in Atlanta. So I punched in Best Buy. I went to the closest Best Buy, and the lady there was awesome. I even wrote it up. I even wrote a review on that Best Buy because she was so nice. She helped me with what I needed, and I was talking to Charlie Cook on the phone at the time because he was telling me what to get because he knew what I needed. And he said, "Hey, get an external hard drive so you can save your shows. So you have, it's not only on your laptop." And it's not only on the SD card, you actually have it on a hard drive. So I was like, great. How much are they? He said you can get a 4 terabyte for $100. I was like, cool. No, they're really expensive here. He was like, no, go to Walmart. So the girl clicked the mic. You know how they have the Best Buy headset on? And the store was about to close, so it was only me in there, and a couple of people getting the last minute things of 5 minutes before the doors locked. And the girl said, "Hey, I'm trying to find him a good Walmart." And you guys know exactly what I mean when I say a good Walmart. And I was like, dang. So when I punched in Walmart on my app for Google, she scrolled through 10 Walmarts before she found the good one 38 minutes away outside of Atlanta. These are people that are from Atlanta telling you you
Yeah.
don't go to these Walmarts.
Well, there's
And
like
that's how.
that's the kind of advice you want. That's why you go to a local shop, ideally, right?
Hmm. Yep.
But in this case, you got
But I'm
that
like,
from a chain. Yeah.
yeah, how happy I am that he told me about the external hard drive after I went to Best Buy instead of going to the closest Walmart first.
Well, even the
Because
WalMarts the WalMarts in right around Shot in Vegas. Some of those are pretty sketchy.
hmm
And they're like right next to the strip.
hmm hmm
They're the
I
kind that
remember
have
that CVS that had homeless people living in front of the CVS on the strip. Meanwhile, it's not. I'm sorry. I was like, yeah, yeah. Look at those homeless people on the strip. It's like, no, those are people that had those guns that were supposed to be released that shot 2016 and we never saw the light of day. It just didn't make it.
the companies that went under.
Yeah, all the companies that went under. Hey, isn't that the CEO of Sky? The CEO of Sky Firearms and Delton are cooking freaking something over a hobo fire.
And the wash.
I don't wish American companies to go down, but hey, listen, sometimes you either have to innovate or just you go. I mean, there were some solid companies that are no longer around. I mean, I love the Wyndham weaponry story, right? Local dudes comes up with Bushmaster, was successful with the company, sold it. Uh, that
You're
Bushmaster
talking
moved
like
out.
Kentucky. You're talking like the first guy,
What was
right?
that?
Is that how it happened? Like some guy
Yeah, the
was in
first guy.
Kentucky or something, and then once it was successful and made, then somebody else bought it and went to Maine.
Mm, no, he started it up in Wyndham, Maine. Bushmaster sold it, was successful. Then sold it to that creepy company, what part of Freedom Group? Sold it to them and did the whole you guys have to stay here for X number of years. And he had a non compete for X number of years. And as soon as they could move out of the state, they packed up, moved out of the state. This guy waited for his, what is it, non compete to finish, went and bought the old place and opened it back up and hired his people back that decided to stay in Maine. And they were doing, it for a while, but I don't think their sales worked out like they wanted it to. Mainly because it looked to me every time I went to the website is they had nothing new. They were still selling, Stuff like it was early 2000s. There was nothing innovative. There was nothing even like popular on there, and eventually they went under.
Yeah, that's got to be a
They
tough
closed.
balancing act when you're an AR manufacturer now, especially in that time frame, because we had ARs forever, but you couldn't do nothing to them because there was no aftermarket parts because they were just another gun that some people like. A lot of people hated them because they were just
Hmm.
semi-automatic versions of the guns they hated in the army or whatever. But anyway, so the whole '90s, you would buy an AR and you pretty much leave it stock and that you just owned it or whatever. And I guess some
Yep.
people own more than one. I really didn't know anybody that owned more than one until way later. But I guess what I'm saying is that there wasn't a lot of options, so nobody really cared about none of this until they got banned. Once they got banned, we started to see variations because it was like, well, okay, let's work within this stupid band. It has to be under 26 ounces. Let's drill a bunch of holes in it. Now we have a pistol with a bunch of holes in it because that's the only way we can sell this thing anymore. So, do people want it? Yeah, some people did, but that kind of opened some doors. There's lots of different variations and stuff. Things with or without uh, muzzle devices or the different stocks and things, so that they could comply with whatever bans there were. And then you get the end of the assault weapons ban in 2004. At the same time, the beginning of the global war on terror. At the same time, like not even the beginning. That was already fucking 3 years into the global war on terror. People were already coming home from it with stories. You had the internet, not just beginning of the internet anymore in 2004, but like the entire internet. Pretty much everybody was online at high speed, like cable and DSL and satellite,
Hmm.
taking everybody from past the modem days. So conversations and the stuff online was starting to happen faster and faster. And in other words, sharing and stuff was turning into videos and not just pictures. So people had all kinds of stuff that they wanted to do to ARs, and there was not a lot of options. So when Bushmaster first started, there was like Colt, Bushmaster, whatever, a couple others, Olympic, something else, Rock River or something, whatever the ones were. And in cost wise or brand wise, people liked them. But then by the time you're talking with Wyndham and everything, people could buy a mill and put it in their freaking garage, or buy a small setup, a small operation, and borrow some money and get an operation going and selling parts. And again, people were dying to
Hmm.
6 or 7 ARs together. A lot of people were. So there was just all this demand for parts and stuff. And then 2013, Obama says, "I'm going to take them." Oh fuck yeah, you are! I'm going to buy even more. I'm going to show you I'm buy even more guns. So if you were building an AR company in 2015, like good, right on. Like you're making nothing but money. 2016, 17, how many of them went bankrupt, right? So that's where I don't remember where Wyndham came in and all that, but I think that's what was another factor, right? Is that the AR, what's like demand, has been
Hmm.
all over the fucking place. Yanked around by
And
this or
let's not forget by '07 you had Call of Duty
yeah,
Modern Warfare, and that was like building what was there and what you could buy as a civilian, and that stuff was starting to get affordable because there were more and more manufacturers out there, so you didn't have to just go to what Bushmaster, Colt, or Armalite.
right. And
I
you'd go
think.
online and you'd go, wow, that gun was cool on that game. And somebody'd be like, I just bought one. You're like, what? You could buy one. Like people were figuring out that they could buy guns. So yeah, it was great in that
Then
occasion.
airsoft took off. Airsoft was always doing that stuff, but all of a sudden it took off because I mean, what I saw of airsoft was usually pistols that were correct, but now all of a sudden you had full blown M16, just everything. So now you started having adults, you know, kids that played airsoft with milsim airsoft, being adults now with the ability to buy that gun they built. Their dream gun from airsoft days, they could make it a real steel gun. I don't even think people use the term real steel anymore when talking about firearms in the airsoft community. But that's what they used to call a real firearm, real steel.
Now that you say that, I can remember when we were in high school. So this was a long time ago, right?
Hmm.
Back in the 1800s, the mid 1900s. Uh, when we were in high school, I forget, one of my friends, I think, bought. I don't think it was me. Maybe it was me, but one of my friends bought it, and then I eventually owned it because I think we sold it back and forth or traded it back and forth a couple of times. But it was from Japan, and way
Hmm.
before airsoft, but it did shoot like a bullet that you could put together and with like a little spring in them. So technically, it
Hmm.
did, but it was an AR. It was probably an M4 or something, like or an XM4, like one of the first M4 variants, and
Hmm.
because it was cool, because it was at the time you weren't going to even if you wanted to go buy a Colt M4, I don't think you could, or like they weren't, they were just too new. But we got this, and it was all plastic. It wasn't even metal or anything, but it looked 100% like one. Like it was, the scale and everything. So it was basically a model kit or a model, but
Hmm.
a thing to look at. Like I say, it technically could shoot these things, like it could operate, but it was not. It was essentially a big giant squirt gun or a big, nothing. But anyway, I'm just thinking about that. But that, I guess the other part of that, how much do you think that cost? It was like hundreds of dollars. I think it might have been
Hmm.
$300 or more. And now that's probably like a $60 item or something.
Yeah. The only reason it's expensive if you had one today in the original box was because of nostalgia, not
Oh
because
yeah,
the
yeah.
build quality. Yeah.
No, no, they weren't even good. They were true to look, but they were fairly fragile, and they were all plastic, like not even a metal. Maybe some metal springs is about it. But it just made me think of that when you're talking about that, airsoft, where the origins of airsoft. I think the origins of airsoft were people were looking for a little stronger version of 9 millimeter, and they came up with airsoft.
Nice. Nice. Uh,
All right. Well, with that, we're 2 hours 22 minutes in almost. So, thanks everybody for
Alrighty.
joining us. But yeah, why don't we wrap it up? You got another show coming up in a few hours that comes out usually on
Hmm.
Mondays or Tuesdays. I know it comes out
Tuesdays. Tuesdays.
right before your other show. Yeah, I was gonna say I
Yeah,
think it
which
comes
is
out right
crazy, right?
before some other shows. Well, you guys come out like, at least for me, it comes out at like 5, and then usually the live shows start at like 7. So it comes out where you can almost listen to your uh, locked, loaded, and
Unfiltered.
unfiltered. Then it was
Locked, loaded, and unfiltered. Yeah.
but
Hmm.
you can almost listen to that whole show before the live stuff happens that day. But anyway, you guys are filming that one. You're recording that one later on.
Yeah, we're recording it today because Clayton did some great things over the weekend, working with USCCA and some other organizations. And I did the NRA thing, and I think Chris was teaching some classes. So we've all been busy, and we took the last week, off. But we're trying to get that recording going just so we don't have downtime. So we still get one out every week. So what's coming up now? Thursday, I have an event. I'm also this weekend. I think I'll go ahead and post my next event, my next diversity shoot. Since this one's this week, I'm going to try to keep two or three on at the same time. So you can purchase tickets. I look forward to seeing everybody. This is Thursday at Union Hill Gun Club, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're going to have some fun. If you want to come in early and check out their gun store, please do. If you want to purchase ammo, you can call these places. Go to diversityshoot.com. You can contact the ranges and purchase ammo from them for us to use at our events, or you can drop it off. Really appreciate that. It helps us out a lot. If you own a pizzeria or even any business and you want to do it, what do you call that thing? A gift certificate that we could use as a raffle item. It doesn't even have to be firearms related. That's fine. I don't care what it is, but it gives people something. People love the games of chance and stuff because they know the money's going to us and paying for what they're doing that night, because we charge $20 to come to our event, eat pizza, shoot guns, and have a good time. So if you want to help us, diversityshoot.com, and you can donate multiple ways from diversityshoot.com, from PayPal to Patreon to Venmo to Cash App. So we have all that available. You can also follow me on Simon Says Train on Instagram. Second is for everyone on Facebook, and second for everyone on X. Also, follow me on Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review podcast. We do a show every Tuesday for the last decade.
Dang. Oh, I didn't know it was that long. I'm just
Yep.
going to add a couple of things that we'll link. This show links over to a Great Start Shooting School. Brooke does a show every Saturday called Mental Health Matters. She's attempting to consistently have a conversation about mental health, right? So that we can better communicate with ourselves and with those who hate us and our property and our rights about the mental health aspect. We know that 2 out of every 3 deaths with a firearm are suicide. Everything we can do to prevent that and to show the other side that that's a truly noble cause to work with. Everything we do towards that is mutually beneficial for everyone involved, including the victim, right? So uh, the great uh, potential of what Brooke is doing there. Again, something that she's done for a long time. It's usually about 20 minute show, and if you're able to show up and listen to it live, be part of it. It is a interactive conversation, and then like I say, it's fairly brief. She can also would also appreciate sharing, like letting people know that that show exists. That's very valuable to no matter what the project or person or channel or whatever it is that you support. Linking to them is as valuable sometimes as financial support. Financial support is always necessary, but those links are something you can't purchase. It's very you can it's just not something that can be purchased. So that effort is always worthwhile. And that being said, there's a give send go for an activist in Washington who's been around for a while, and she's got cancer. She's fighting that and has a $25,000 bill. At the last time I checked, it wasn't quite half there. It was getting to be about halfway there. So I have it pinned on my X, but the give send go for Sharon is something I'd like to
Hmm.
also just promote and let people know that it's out there and encourage you if you can financially throw a couple of bucks. Crowdfunding is almost magic. It's just like a tip jar, or in this case, a way to show support financially to someone who has earned our respect and our admiration as people who understand the fight for our rights. But it's a way that can accumulate a little bit from so many people. So you don't need to necessarily be rich or have to impress anybody with the size of the donation. But the Give, Send, Go and other platforms like that facilitate a lot of people just dropping a couple of whatever into there, and it accumulates and accomplishes in this case treatment for cancer that's spreading on and throughout. Dude explains it there, but she's got some cancer that's spreading. But the other side of that is again it's crowdfunding. So the crowd part of that, just letting people know like I'm doing now, dropping the link, which I'll do here in a moment, uh, is I don't say crucial, but it's the magic of crowdfunding. Just letting people know about it consistently is how things get accomplished. And in this case, it's for an awesome cause to help Sharon. But I always think it's a muscle that's worth exercising. When every once in a while we need it to get the word out. In this case, we need it to get the word out about what's happening with her. But anyway, I'll quit talking because I'm not doing good at talking and typing here. But those are the two things I wanted to throw out there before we start wrapping it up here.
Yep. Actually, I just reposted it on my stories and I pinned it to the top of my X also. So if you're cruising around, hit it. She's halfway there, which is awesome. Please continue help. Um, it's appreciated. She's an awesome human being, and she's actually advocate and activist that fought for and our rights, not only in person but in writing and through just everything she did. She was really, really involved. Most people don't know when they saw her testifying, and she was there all those mornings, and she was on the steps of the Capitol. She worked third shift. She worked third shift, so she was coming off of work a full day just to show up and be a part of that all day. So every time you saw her testifying, that was after a full day's of work. She wasn't coming from home, like rested and everything. So she's really hardcore advocate, and I love the lady. She's awesome. Please help if you can. Share if you can't. Share regardless.
I'll just add that she's still posting every once in a while. I'll see a post on X, and a lot like Professor Yamane, she's or
Hmm.
somebody like uh, OCR Defense, whatever. There's like a couple of people that I can think of, I guess, that she's paying attention to uh, conversations and topics that a lot of us aren't, that I never
Hmm.
have, and and sometimes it's something is like, she's into like knitting, I think, or crocheting, and like, handcrafts like that, like yarn and thread crafts. I don't know the word for all that is, but so there'll be a conversation in there, and she'll be able to put some insight in that community as to more like, that this is a rights issue than a political issue. And then even, well, more often in the gun realm, she'll be commenting on something, because on X, that's one of the things I do like about X. When someone comments on X and you're following that person, you'll see what they're commenting about in their comment, at least if they allow that, I guess. And that's where I'll be enlightened about something that I didn't even know was going on, and her insight is valuable. But then I'll also see where she's, again, following stuff that I wasn't even aware of, and that's if we had a lot more of that, we'd have a lot more reach, right? Like when we have a ton of people following 6 topics, okay, it's great, but we don't really do a lot with that power except echo chamber a lot or often.
Hmm.
But having people that are out looking at different angles or different approaches and different communities and different groups, and with that consistent, our consistent, kind of shared ideals about Second Amendment and all it's, that's going on, is super valuable. And anyway, so Sharon's doing that, and she's still doing that. So I just want to put that out there. It's not like she's, not still out there. Anyway, that's our show, I guess, for the day. Again, we really just do this to BS a little bit, catch up, and answer questions. So whether you're going to askonquestions.com or joining us live, at some point I'll figure out how to work it into my workflow, I like to call it, my schedule, to get this back as a podcast. I've kind of slacked on that, and pretty soon I'll have to pay the bill for the podcast place, and that'll get me off my butt to start turning these into podcasts. It takes like a couple of steps. I have to pull the audio off and then shove the audio up. I'm not even fancy. Like, I don't even edit the audio, really. I just take it as audio and push it. It's just that, then you got to schedule it. So anyway, it maybe takes like 4 hours every once in a while. And I kind of fell out of the habit of doing it. But we do get a fair amount of people, probably more people listening as a podcast than we do listening live, for sure. I don't really, we don't do this for the views, but I don't pay attention to really to know if we get more views in the long run on these shows, whether, compared to podcasts. But I do know we reach different people that, listen to podcasts or driving or at work or something, where people that are listening to us live are probably, relaxing or doing something recreationally, right? They're not probably not working and watching a video, I'm assuming. But whatever. Thanks everybody again for joining us, and we'll be back next week. I was going to say you're not going anywhere.
No, I'm not. I don't plan on going anywhere now.
Okay, so we'll see y'all in about a week.
See you guys.